This video is sponsored by Parade. More on them in a little bit. I've been covering anti-MLM insanity on this YouTube channel for nearly 6 years now, if you can believe it. And with every single year that goes by, there's never a dull moment. And now, for the third year in a row, I bring to you our annual roundup of the top 10 MLM fails of the year. And holy moly, guys, let me tell you. When it came to putting this year's list together, looking at it on its surface, I was concerned that all I really had to work with was this MLM closed down. Then this MLM dropped the MLM business model for an affiliate model, and that would just be the entire video. And don't get me wrong, it's wonderful to see that all of the hard work that the anti-MLM movement has put into spreading awareness about the dangers of MLM has really paid off in a major way in the year of 2024, but oh my god. After a brief recollection, and with the help of other creators and viewers like you, I remembered that this year probably had more fails than any other year I think I've covered so far. From top reps being terminated from their companies for the most ridiculous reasons, to infighting between companies and distributors, all the way to cease and desist letters and full-on lawsuits. We just have a lot of things to discuss as far as the failures of the MLM industry go for the year of 2024. And I cannot wait to jump into all that with you, but first, I just want to tell you guys a little bit about the sponsor of today's video, Parade. Guys, I have worked with Parade before. If you've been here a while, you've probably heard of them, but I've been regularly wearing the bras and underwear that they sent me last time for the past few months. And I swear this to you, okay? Look me in the eye. They are my favorite undergarments that I own, and I'll tell you why. Ooh, bars. It's comfort. Comfort is the number one reason why they're my favorite. As a mom in my 30s, I have succumbed to the reality that comfort is number one. It comes above all other things for me. And thanks to Parade, I'm able to achieve my desired level of comfort every single day. Parade is an inclusive brand made with super soft functional fabrics that are made using recycled materials. From gorgeous lace to adorable prints, all the way to just simple wardrobe staples, Parade is a game changer. They've sent me many different types of undergarments, and I can confirm that there's something here for everyone, whether you need the support of an underwire bra or you prefer something more simple like a bralette. But I have to tell you about my all-time favorite product from Parade, and quite frankly, I'm obsessed with it, and I just wish that my entire underwear drawer was just stocked with this specific pair of underwear. That would be their Invisible Sculpt Hip Hugger Seamless Underwear. I'm wearing some. Let me show you how they work. So here's my butt. These guys give you the comfort of briefs with the invisibility of a thong, without that discomfort of a thong. It's the first carbon neutral underwear, and it's made of rescued materials that would usually be wasted during production. This is another pair that I own. Let me just show you how stretchy this fabric is. And it's so soft and like silky. It's not silk, but it's like, you know what I mean? That like smoothing, soft fabric. Like, I love this underwear. You need it in your life. It comes in sizes from extra small all the way to 3XL. So for the love of all things good in this world, try this underwear. It will change your life. I promise. It is my favorite thing. I would like several more pairs of this underwear, please. Thank you. Thanks, Parade. As if it couldn't get any better at all, I have a coupon code for you. If you use it, you get 40% off site-wide, and that's not including the clearance sale, but their clearance sale is like super cheap anyway. Like, you don't even need a coupon code for that, but for everything else, my code will save you a buttload of money. And hey, don't you deserve to get yourself something this year? Go grab yourself some new goodies by going to yourparade.com/sav40, or you can simply just use the code SAV40 at checkout, and you'll get 40% off. 40%! That's a pretty good deal, if I do say so myself. I cannot stress this enough. Parade is a necessity in my life at this point. I love this underwear, so I am absolutely convinced that you're gonna love it too. So please do yourself a favor, give it a try. I mean, not just this underwear, just like anything that Parade has, I've liked. They've sent me a ton of different stuff, but these are the GOAT. I promise you, these are the GOAT. Thank you to Parade for sponsoring this video. So now I guess it's time to jump into stuff. As I mentioned at the beginning of this video, we have seen more MLM fails go on this year than any other, and those fails include MLMs straight up just dropping dead, or at least getting rid of the MLM business model and trading it in for a single-tiered affiliate model. So before we get into the actual top 10 list, I have put together a brief presentation to commemorate the fallen MLM soldiers of the year of 2024. Please bow your head in a moment of silence as we dishonor the scams that the world either lost entirely this year and the companies that dropped the MLM model for a more ethical one. I know, that was an emotional ride. But wipe those tears off your pretty little cheeks, sis, because it's finally time to go through the top MLM fails of the year of 2024. Number 10. Scentsy terminates distributors for having real businesses. At the end of August 2024, two top distributors in the very popular MLM, Scentsy, announced that they had been terminated from the company because they had their own actual businesses that they were operating outside of their Scentsy distributorship, and Scentsy did not like that very much. On August 31st, Brian and Allison Dalkey uploaded this video to YouTube titled "After Almost 17 Years," where they talk about how Scentsy had sent them an email informing them of their termination from the company.
Tuesday of this week, we got an email from our company, the corporation that we're 1099 contract laborers for, that it had gotten called into question on some businesses that we were running that were not that company's business. And so we quickly called to say we don't have any other businesses. We have a podcast that isn't monetized, that we don't make any money on. We have a marriage ministry. But we have no business. We have no other LLCs, no other S corps, no other corporations, nothing. They're not businesses. And so we thought it was a big misunderstanding. And after a very long phone call with that department, we still didn't have a lot of clarification on what they wanted from us, but we knew that we at least needed to show that they weren't businesses. And so we did that. And we got an email yesterday informing us that they have decided to move forward with the cancellation. We're in shock. This was never something that could have happened. Because we don't have any other businesses, this is our sole means of income. This is going to change a lot of things. And we're confused, we're hurt, we're upset. But the thing we want you guys to know, anybody watching this, or what we would ask of you, is just be praying for us.
I just want to say too, that we were willing and more than willing to do anything that they thought necessary for us to remedy the situation, and there was no discussion. There was no working.
We've been with this company basically our entire adult lives, 17 years. We know all of these people, not just on the consultant side, but also on the corporate side. We know these people well. We've eaten dinners at their homes, and we've shared memories with them, and we've gone on trips with them, and then it ended in an email.
Now, don't feel too bad for them just yet. While the Dalkey story is certainly a cautionary tale that should make you question whether or not you should join a multi-level marketing company in the first place, commenters on Aaron B's and Sam D's coverage of this whole situation paint a bit of a different picture that this couple conveniently left out. But before we get into those details, let's state the obvious. Just like Brian said, as a Scentsy distributor, you're a 1099 contractor. You're not a business owner. You do not own your own business. And this is true for every MLM. So when you sign on to these companies, you're essentially signing your life away in more ways than one. Every MLM has different rules, of course, but some are more strict than others. Some MLMs don't care if you're in multiple companies at once. Some MLMs will put a rank limit in there, so you can be with whatever companies you want until you reach a certain rank in their company, and then you can only be opportunity with their company. Some MLMs don't care if you have your own small businesses on the side. Others care if that specific small business is a competitor with whatever the MLM sells. And then you have some MLMs, such as Scentsy, where you basically sign over your rights to your social media profiles. What I mean by that is, if you start using your personal social media account to sell Scentsy, per your contract, you are no longer allowed to use that same social media profile to sell anything else. This is not unique to Scentsy. At one point in Paparazzi Accessories, there was a distributor who was terminated for selling Girl Scout cookies on the same social media account where she was selling paparazzi. It's basically the same concept. In other words, if you use your social media profile to sell Scentsy, you're screwed. You cannot then start your own real small business and then use your social media to promote said business. In the case of the Dalkies here, this is the contractual trap they fell into. So this made it to our number 10 spot for a few reasons. Firstly, for any MLM company to terminate some of their top people, who apparently were distributors for 17 years, is unethical. They were superstar directors, which is the top rank in the company. Sam D describes them as Scentsy celebrities, and everyone in the company knew them and looked up to them. They made Scentsy a lot of money, and for Scentsy to just toss them out like garbage after 17 years with just a few simple keystrokes is really messed up. What this should tell you is that Scentsy, and every other MLM for that matter, does not care about you. You are nothing more than a dollar sign to them. Unless you're Kale Lowry from Teen Mom, then you can do whatever you want and have whatever businesses you want and still sell Scentsy, and they won't terminate you. Thanks to Sam D for pointing that out in her coverage of this. Sounds like they're picking favorites. Not terribly surprising. Now, following this termination, Sam D reports that a lot of Scentsy consultants took this termination as their final straw with the company, resulting in a bit of a mass exodus. It certainly does seem as though a lot of people are upset about this sudden turn of events for the Dalkey family, and really, this should upset them. If it can happen to the Dalkeys, it can happen to them too. And while of course, I don't agree with the manner in which MLM distributors make their money, it appears as though most of the Dalkeys' eggs were in the Scentsy basket, meaning this sudden termination is life-altering, which is even more upsetting when you learn that this couple has 4 children. There is another side to this fail though, and that's on the Dalkeys' part themselves. Brian does mention that the couple has a podcast that he claims is not monetized. He goes on to say that they have no other businesses, attributing the term business to anything with an LLC, in which they apparently have none. But what Brian failed to mention is that the couple actually does have other streams of income in which they were advertising on their social media accounts. Whether or not those streams of income comes from an established LLC, the presence of those other projects on their Scentsy social media profile does break the rules that all Scentsy distributors must adhere to, unless you were on a very popular MTV reality franchise, but I digress. Anyway, so the couple owns a farm, and they sell floral arrangements with the flowers they grow there, a completely valid small business that I wholeheartedly love and agree with. However, Brian shared updates about this business to his personal social media profile, which he conveniently left out of the termination video. Should this be worth the termination of a 17-year-long partnership? Absolutely not. Let the people sell some flowers, man. But that's not the end of what this couple is allegedly leaving out. Apparently, according to a comment left on Aaron B's coverage of the situation by YouTube user at Wendy Irons and pinned in Aaron's comment section, Wendy claims, "The story goes that they were doing trainings at their homes and were charging $2,000 allegedly. The agreement says you can't make a profit on trainings, but I know others that do something similar. Heard today that several consultants at the bottom also got an email that they may be terminated if they don't stop selling their stock online, or other reasons. These two bought a farm, grow flowers, and I guess sell them, but honestly, that should have nothing to do with it. This information came from another SSD. Allegedly, they also owe a consultant a refund because she couldn't make the $2,000 training, but they wouldn't refund her. They're at the top and superstar directors. The condition they violated, again, was charging $2,000 to do trainings at their home, and the agreement states you can't make any money. They're done, and little do they realize that any consultant or customers that liked a Scentsy, showed interest, or was in a VIP group, they can no longer sell to per the agreement. That seems very convenient of you to have left out, guys. For all of the advertising that you do on your social medias about being such good Christians, you really did sit up here and lie and be all like, oh, we have no idea what we did wrong. No, I think you knew exactly what you were terminated for, but you assumed the rules wouldn't apply to you since you were at the top of the compensation plan. Now, the last bit of information is, of course, all alleged, based on a YouTube commenter's alleged story, but if it's true, I don't feel bad for them one bit. The only thing scummier than making your fortune by selling overpriced products to unsuspecting people and recruiting others based on false promises and omitting the reality of the unethical business model to your prospects is charging people thousands of dollars to learn how to be as successful as you are in said unethical business. In the aftermath, Brian Dalkey seems to have submitted himself back into the real workforce, or he's been trying to at least. In this Facebook post from November 11th, 2024, Brian says he took a job with a private health insurance firm, but he quit shortly after being hired. After that, he became the operations manager of one of his friend's roofing business, an industry in which he says he doesn't have a natural gift for, but he's still out here offering to repair your roof anyway. Let's be honest, if you have problems with your roof, you probably want to hire someone who has, experience? As for Brian's wife, Allison, it seems like she's trying to really start up an MLM coaching business. Go figure. Well, she claims that she'll be helping her clients create multiple streams of income. For the record, those courses are a dime a dozen. Everyone is doing them. They're simply a cash grab. I would wish this family luck, but they seem like they're the classic God-loving family who makes their money in unethical ways that we see all over social media. Hopefully Brian can get some good experience in the roofing industry so Allison doesn't have to sink so low as to scam people with an expensive course that ultimately teaches them nothing of importance that they could have learned elsewhere for free. I won't hold my breath though. Number 9. Bomb Party loses Winnie. This year, we saw perhaps the most entertaining and easy-to-love character the MLM and the anti-MLM world has ever seen. On June 12, 2024, Say Hello to DC and Mrs. Pico Speaks did a live stream reacting to these women impeccably dressed as the Sanderson sisters from the classic Halloween movie Hocus Pocus. They were hilarious, and their impersonations of the characters that they were playing were absolutely spot on. They would openly state that they thought the jewelry they were revealing was ugly. They had potty mouths, and they were actually fun to watch.
Looks like my urine when I forget to drink water.
This was probably the first time the entire anti-MLM community had to fight off the absolute pleasure it was to watch these distributors, despite the fact that they were operating a highly unethical business, which is the MLM known as Bomb Party. So this story actually focuses on the woman playing Winnie. While this specific live stream featured another sister, most of the lives we saw with Winnie only featured her alone. This woman behind the character is known as Face Candy Jenna, a TikToker who has 2.4 million followers on the platform, who came to prominence by showcasing her really cool face paintings and also her talent in performing Broadway musical numbers. For the first time I think I've ever seen in the anti-MLM movement, audiences couldn't stop watching Jenna and her portrayal of Winnie. Despite the fact that Bomb Party is unethical in many ways, and Jenna was actively making money for them, most of us genuinely loved watching her, not really knowing much about Jenna's backstory with the company. We all knew we hated the business she was part of, but we couldn't help but love her. Before I get into this story, I just want to share with you why I believe that Bomb Party is unethical, aside from just it being an MLM, which in my opinion makes any MLM business unethical, but that's just my opinion. However, with Bomb Party, if you're a distributor, the person that you join under, which would be your upline, is making money when you buy inventory, not when you actually sell the jewelry. For example, let's say if you buy 100 ring bombs as inventory for your jewelry reveal live streams, your upline's gonna get paid a commission for all 100 of those ring bombs, whether you actually sell them all or not. You might only sell 5 of them, but your upline got paid as if you sold all 100 of them, because once that jewelry leaves the warehouse, they don't care what happens to it. You can't return the unsold inventory, you're stuck with it, and your upline already got paid for it when you bought it. It's not in your upline's interest or the company's interest to help you sell that inventory since they already have your money. On another note, When you watch a bomb party live stream, the distributor will read off a description of the piece of jewelry that's revealed. They'll say a number, they won't state it as a price because TikTok will kick them off the platform for that, but they'll just say a number, usually over 100. That is allegedly the piece's MSRP. If you buy one of their original ring bombs, for example, you can expect to hear the rep tell you that the MSRP of the ring you bought is like, let's say $150, which sounds like you just got an amazing deal by spending $20 on a ring worth $150. The reality is, if you take these rings to a jeweler, they'll tell you they won't even offer you $5 for the ring. Even in the case of revealing a diamond ring, which you have a 1 in 3,000 chance of doing, the rep will tell you that piece of jewelry is worth $1,500 or more. But we've seen some conversations on Reddit where professional jewelry appraisers will look at a diamond piece from Bomb Party and say it's maybe worth between $60 and $150. So would you be getting a good deal in that case? Sure. But you literally have a 0.03% chance of that happening. Which also brings me to the gambling aspect that is present in Bomb Party, because the other thing is, if you're a regular customer, you have a chance of getting the same piece of jewelry twice. And guess what? You can't return it. And according to Bomb Party's policy, you can't arrange a trade with another customer in front of a rep. Now, that doesn't mean it doesn't happen. Many reps have their own little systems of getting around this, but it's different with every rep you buy from. So you're taking a gamble on getting a piece of jewelry that's worth more than you paid for it, which is highly unlikely, and you're hoping it's not a piece you already have. Or you're at least hoping for a piece of jewelry you even like in the first place. And, well, some of these pieces of jewelry are big yikes. And finally, depending on what pieces of jewelry you end up selling, you only make between $5 and $10 profit per piece, meaning you need to sell a metric crap ton of this stuff if you want to make a full-time income. But hey, that full-time income comes a lot easier when you just recruit a team of unsuspecting people beneath you and you just get paid when they buy inventory to sell, but whatever. So back to the story. In October of 2024, Bomb Party royally messed up their partnership with Jenna. Jaws dropped when she uploaded this video to her TikTok explaining that she was ending her partnership with Bomb Party, and she shed a lot of light on her decision.
I am currently stuck with an upline who quite literally bullied my original upline out of the company. She also broke some big company policies by buying inventory on her downline's account with her card so that she would rank up that month. Because of the bullying that she did to my original upline, my friend left the company, and now I have rolled over to this woman's team, and I'm just not putting a cent in her pocket. I refuse. She's not making any money off of me, and I'm not budging on that.
It's unclear what rank her friend was, what rank her upline was, and what rank Jenna was, but if we take a look at Bomb Party's compensation plan, you'll see that you can earn commissions up to 4 levels deep in your organization. Depending on the friend's upline's rank, it's likely that they'd been earning commission from Jenna this entire time. Jenna was moving a lot of product and would have been producing plenty of organizational volume. Maybe Jenna was okay with contributing to her friend's upline at first, but once the bullying happened, she decided she didn't want to continue helping her get a paycheck. Anyway.
It took me going live for BP to acknowledge me. I had already sent multiple emails over the course of a couple of weeks, which they ignored. They didn't say no, they didn't say yes, they just didn't respond to me. But then, miraculously, when I went live and talked about the situation and other people started reaching out, the next morning, I had an email. They asked to set up a phone call, and we did that. So I spent 45 minutes on a video chat. I left that conversation feeling really good. I did not feel like they gaslit me. I didn't feel like they were telling me what I wanted to hear. They told me that they love Winifred, they love her lives, they don't want me to go anywhere, they don't want to lose me as a rep. They did explain to me why it is not simple to just change uplines. And I will admit, I did not quite understand all the logistics of it, and there's like federal guidelines and things like that because it affects people's income, and moving me off of this rep's team would have affected other people. So they really will only move somebody if it's like really extenuating circumstances. One of the things that I said was, okay, well, if it's that big of a deal to change uplines, I said, why don't I just quit? I'll deactivate my account and you guys just waive the 6-month thing. So I don't have to wait 6 months to sign up. Yes, I would lose my rank and all that, but I didn't care, not even a little bit. Like, I'll start from the beginning if it's going to make this easier. I will even sign up under somebody that is still on like the leg of the company that I was on. So it's not affecting too much.
When Jenna talks about the difficulties that Bomb Party says that they're facing when they have to change someone's upline, it confuses me because I know that other MLMs make it possible to change your upline. Like, you can write an email to corporate and request that your organization be changed or moved, and they can make that change for you if they deem it necessary. Like, we have seen examples of this happening time and time again. Jenna was making Bomb Party a ton of money. If the ultimatum was, hey, move me, help me find another solution, or I'm leaving, this seems like a circumstance that Bomb Party would want to work out for the benefit of their own pocketbook. Ultimately, it's my opinion that these companies that say they can't do sponsor changes just don't want to do it because it's too much work, it's too much hassle. It's not because they can't do it. They just simply don't wanna. So instead of trying to work with Jenna after her long call with them, they just ignored her. Meanwhile, Jenna was busy obtaining the inventory that she needed to do her Winnie live streams in a different way that would not give a singular dime to her new upline.
Yesterday, I wake up, I send an email to them, and it just basically was like, hi ladies, had a great time talking to you. I'd really like to get things figured out today if we can. I really would like to get some inventory. You know, October's my month, and I kind of want to get going on this again. I miss it. I like doing it. I did not send that to like compliance or support. I sent it directly to the two people that I spoke to, their personal emails. No response, nothing. So I let that go all day. And then last night at about 10 p.m., I sent one last email and I said, should I be taking your no response as a response? Nothing. Woke up today, nothing. I even took it one step further just to really be sure that I was covering my bases and doing everything I could. And one of the women that I talked to friended me on Facebook last week after we got off the phone. So I sent her a message on Facebook Messenger. It said she was online. It was unread. And then I sent a follow-up and I was like, I'm not sure if you're getting notifications. And it was still unread. So then, even just to be sure, I went and I put a comment on one of her most recent posts. And I said, hey, I've sent you a couple of messages on Facebook Messenger. I'm not sure if you're getting the notifications. Let that be for a while. My whole nail appointment, actually, I let it be, said she was online. No response. Now I'm going to take it into my own hands. And I was planning for this. Listen, I'm a contingency girl. I had something set in place just in case it went this way. All last week, I have been quietly in the Facebook groups buying inventory from people who were affected by the hurricane and needed to get rid of inventory. The groups are full of reps that are like, I have all this inventory, but I don't have internet, I don't have electricity, I can't go live. Does anybody want to buy it? Me. I want to buy it. So I bought a whole bunch of inventory from reps who needed to get rid of it, and I'm going to upload everything into my Shopify, and Winnie's going to go live tomorrow and we'll do a BP live. And also, because I'm doing it this way through my Shopify, this will be open to all of my international people as well. It's going to run the exact same way as it always has. You're just going to do everything through my Shopify instead of the BP link. I'm going to try and set everything up very similar. It'll all be split up, fall stacks, ring, it should all be very, very easy, but this is how I'm going to do it because I'm not putting any money in their pocket if they're not willing to work with me. So I'm using inventory that's already been bought. I can do whatever I want with it. It's mine. And I'm not putting any money in the upline's pocket, and I'm not putting any money in BP's pocket. They don't want to work with me. I don't want to work with them, but I'm gonna work the system.
Personally, I think that this was a pretty gracious and kind thing for Jenna to do, considering that in October of 2024, the East Coast was just pummeled with wild hurricanes. But from a business standpoint, it was also really smart of her to do this, if we put all the other unethical crap aside when it comes to Bomb Party. Yes, it's still unethical to even sell Bomb Party under its given pretenses in general, but at least Jenna was able to reimburse people for their Bomb Party inventory that they bought that they cannot sell during their time of need, and Bomb Party would have never done that. It's probably relevant too for me to add here that with Bomb Party, they like release new collections every month. They have like different birthstones for every month and different themes and stuff, so like if someone bought the October collection and then got hit with a hurricane and had no internet for a month, by the time they get their internet back and they can get going with live streams again, all that inventory is kind of outdated. People are wanting the new stuff. It helps a lot of people out, the fact that Jenna did that, and I think that's at least worthy of a golf clap. Even during her time in Bomb Party, she was actively telling her followers that they probably can't be successful in this, how she already had a following so she didn't have to work for it, and she's a statistical outlier, and all of that is true.
I'm a gimmick, okay? I came into this 2 months ago with a built-in community of hundreds of people who I knew would be happy to do this with me and buy this with me. Do not go off me and start doing this. I did not have to work for anything. My sales were $5,000 the very first month out the gate because I didn't need to work for it, okay? And I'm very aware of that. I had a community that I knew would want to do this, and I do this with them. It's not as easy as it looks, and don't let an upline or anybody tell you that it is, okay?
These are the things that most successful MLM distributors will not tell you. Anyway, a few days after the video I played for you, Jenna posted this video going into more detail. Jenna shares that after she made her original Bomb Party expose, having been lied to and then ignored for days on end, suddenly she finally got a response in the form of the worst formatted email I think I've ever seen, telling her that not only were they unwilling to work with her on her request, but she needs to just suck it up and be nice, basically. Hi, Jenna, we have taken note of your concerns you have raised about your immediate upline in your request to transition to a different team. However, as Bomb Party operates in a regulated industry, there are limitations on making changes to the compensation tree due to the impact on earnings and regulatory monitoring. Therefore, we are unable to approve your request to change uplines. We encourage resolving disagreements or differences internally rather than taking a hard line or making public declarations that may be considered coercive. We understand your frustration regarding your upline's behavior towards another representative, but please note that all compliance issues are handled confidentially. We do not publicly acknowledge cases or disclose specific actions taken. This practice is intended to protect the anonymity of the reporting process. We are also aware of your intention to sell through Shopify and internationally, which is a violation of our policy, Section 5.5. Proceeding with this behavior may lead to account termination. We value your role as a party rep and hope you will reconsider your approach. In light of our policies to maintain a positive standing within the company, should you find yourself unable to operate your business within your team effectively and in alignment with our policies, please know that you have the option to resign. Upon doing so, you have the opportunity to rejoin after a 6-month period. We ask kindly for your acknowledgement of this response and invite you to inform us of your decision moving forward. It's clear that Bomb Party doesn't respect Jenna enough to give her a response until she airs out her grievances with them on her extremely large platform. This behavior on Bomb Party's part is so unprofessional. If they treat her this way, being one of the company's more popular distributors, imagine how they'll treat the other 99% of their distributors. They do not care about you, and they really showed their ass with this one. And, with such blatant disrespect, Jenna gave what I believe to be the correct response by saying, "I resign!" But watch how loud I'm going to be now. I love this energy for her. Shortly after she sent that email, the co-founder of the company personally reached out to Jenna. I'll put the email on the screen here so you can pause it if you want to read it, but it's just a bunch of fake mumbo-jumbo damage control. Not important for me to read out for you, but during this time, she also started talking to some of us anti-MLM creators, and after those conversations, she determined that she had been lied to by Bomb Party in regards to switching uplines, which prompted her to release some recordings of her original call with Bomb Party, and wow.
Not meant to punish or make your time bad or for custody, just trying to give you a hard time. It's nothing like that. We are quite literally bound by federal regulators that say when it comes to making changes to the structure of a team to the point that it affects somebody else's money, we can't do it. The only exception in our policy right now is in the event of a misplacement.
So they tell me that more than once in the call. We cannot change people from team to team or change sponsors because of FTC regulations. And they both said it. She said it first, and then towards the end of the conversation, the other woman also reiterated that they can't do it. Please, if you want to, go to the FTC website. It is not the easiest read, but there's not a single thing there about anybody changing a sponsor or an upline. And believe me, I understand that this is a company policy, but if it's a company policy, do not convince your reps that you have no say in the decision because it's a federal guideline. So now we know this is a Bomb Party rule and not a federally regulated rule. And that's fine. Listen, companies are free to make whatever decisions, whatever rules, whatever policies they want, but own it and stand behind it. Don't gaslight all of your representatives into thinking they have to stay hands off. They have no say in it. No matter what evidence you provide us, none of that. We can't do anything because it's federally regulated. That is not the truth. If you want to make this rule, you stand by it. Don't pawn it off on some bull schniz federal regulation.
Jenna also shares a clip where Bomb Party pretty much tells her, like, oh yeah, if you provide evidence that your upline is breaking some sort of policies or doing something bad, then we can change someone's upline. Like, that you just have to prove that they were doing something wrong. So Jenna did that. She sent over proof that her upline was undoubtedly breaking multiple policies, including cheating the system, basically, and like buying her own rank. But that didn't seem to be an issue for Bomb Party. But God forbid that Jenna sells the inventory that she owns now on Shopify. And God forbid she ships it internationally. Fraud, totally fine. But selling to people in other countries, that's where we draw the line. So they wanted Jenna to stay so bad. But only if she fell in line like the rest of the sheep who suck up to Bomb Party. That's obviously not in Jenna's character, so she ended the relationship with the company. This is a fail on Bomb Party because not only did they let perhaps the most creative, unique, and lovable person ever involved in any MLM ever slip through their fingers, but they showed their entire asses while doing so. They got caught lying and gaslighting, and in the end, defended a bullying fraudster over Jenna. The silver lining is, I'd be willing to bet that Jenna's done with MLMs for good. She truly is an amazing person. I talked to her personally a bit as well, and I can confirm that she's genuine as hell and wildly more successful than any of those lying sacks of garbage that Bomb Party employs on its corporate team. I wish Jenna nothing but the best, and I'm excited to consider myself a follower and a fan of whatever she does next. Number 8, TranzactCard and FinMore. At the end of 2023, we saw a new company popping up all over the internet. It was called TranzactCard, and it made absolutely no sense. The concept of TranzactCard sends red flags flying for anyone with more than 2 brain cells. The fact that people were falling for this very obvious scam was a head scratcher in and of itself, but as time progressed, things just got sketchier and sketchier, which earns it our number 8 spot. Since I've never covered this mess personally on my channel before, let me tell you a condensed version of what led up to this mess. So let's start with this guy, Richard Smith, TranzactCard's founder and chairman. Turns out this guy has a long history of fraud, including being criminally charged with securities fraud by the state of Utah in 2010. The charges come from Richard Smith's involvement in 2 Ponzi schemes called Ascendus and FFCF, and they defrauded consumers out of nearly $11 million. The court secured a $3.2 million judgment against him. In 2017, he would plead guilty to 1 count of pattern of unlawful conduct, which was a second-degree felony. He just had to pay a buttload of money in restitution. Afterwards, he co-founded another company called Divvy, which was a scam that resold cell phone plans from major service providers. After that idea flopped, it was relaunched as Divvy Rank and Share, which was another sketchy idea that was, as Behind MLM puts it, a point-based reward for spamming your social media accounts with apps Divvy pushes onto their user base. And this should surprise no one, that also flopped. So then Divvy started diving into Forex and then turned into another company called Nui, which was just a conglomeration of crypto scams as I understand it. It's unclear if Richard was still hanging around Nui in July of 2018 when the state of Texas started sending out legal notices to the company, ultimately ending in a $25,000 fine for Nui. But whether Richard was still involved during that time or not, it doesn't matter because in 2019, Richard Smith started another scam called the Digital Vault and RevCard, which was meant to assist Nui in its crypto fraud. RevCard was abandoned in 2020. The Digital Vault relaunched as the R Network, and then Richard started offering stock ownership in the company despite not being registered with the SEC, and he would eventually go off to sell that company in 2021. I know that was a lot of backstory, and I'm so sorry, but I needed you to understand how terrible of a person Richard Smith is. So anyway, what was TranzactCard? So it was advertised as a Visa credit card. I think having this widely known and trusted name stamped onto your product certainly helped with the company's propulsion into the spotlight. At the time, if you looked through TranzactCard's website and frequently asked questions, you'd see a lot of legitimate sounding bank partnerships. TranzactCard was also being run through a white-labeled platform called Solid, which acted essentially as a middleman between TranzactCard and the banks it was supposed to be partnered with. You may be thinking, wait, what? This is an MLM that's just a credit card? Well, yeah, basically. It costs $25 to sign up for, which would have to be renewed annually, and then a monthly fee of $4.95. But if you actually wanted to be an affiliate who earns downline commissions, the original sign-on fee would have been $495 and then $150 per month after that. It just sounds like an extremely expensive credit card, so what's the appeal? The selling point was supposed to be these things called Z-Bucks, which were points that TranzactCard would give you for using your card. For every $1 real you spent using your TranzactCard, you'd be rewarded with 1 Z-Buck. You were then supposed to be able to claim rewards with these Z-Bucks. Electronics, supplements, men's suits, professional services, everything you can think of. Not a new concept. Plenty of credit card programs offer like cash back or a point system or, miles that you can redeem for airline credits and stuff like that. Only you see those kind of programs pop up with banks that are like already established and well known and trusted, not some new random company that you've never heard of. They also offered what seemed to be a compounding interest type of savings account where 1% of all the Z-Bucks you earn gets you cash deposited into this account. You would get $1 for every 100 Z-Bucks that you earned. But here's where the MLM part comes in. If you recruit people underneath you to also start using a Transact card, you'd be compensated every time your downline uses that Transact card as well. There were 6 ranks in Transact card, which you would reach as you continue to recruit more people beneath you who use the service for themselves. I'm not going to go through all their compensation plan here, but if you're interested for whatever reason, I'll have the Behind MLM article linked in this video's description so you can continue your own research into this mess if you want to. Transact card was seriously towing the line of being yet another securities fraud at the hands of Richard Smith. It kind of sounded too good to be true, which is always a red flag. Transact card claimed to pay out crazy interest from their savings program without giving any details at all about how they're managing to pull it off. And when you did the math, if you wanted to break even on that pesky $150 monthly fee as an affiliate, you would have to have your downline generate $150,000 in transactions per month. So you'd either need a huge downline or a few really rich friends who are not responsible with their money, both of which are pretty hard to come by. Side note, Mike Lindell, the MyPillow guy, also endorsed TranzactCard. How many more red flags do you need? Ew! In September 2023, TranzactCard allegedly lost all of its access to its banking partners. They blame this on, well, a lot of things. Our platform provider is having issues, we recruited too many people, technical things, Solid sucks, blah blah blah. After all of that explaining away, TranzactCard abruptly told its affiliates that they were closing out all active Transact cards and accounts, and they had until the end of the month to withdraw whatever money was in those accounts. They claimed that they outgrew Solid, and they were just going to upgrade to a new partner called Bangor Savings Bank. Well, that bank ended up coming out saying that they never had a partnership with TransactCard. Sounds like TransactCard was just trying to buy some time and regain the trust of their affiliates, so they told them a lie to hold them over. That's just my opinion. Behind MLM reported on TransactCard so diligently that in November of 2023, Richard Smith actually resigned from his chairman position. He still owned the parent company TZT Holdings LLC though. As seen in this Facebook comment by a bothered TransactCard believer, she claims this decision was made because people think TransactCard is a scam because of Richard Smith and his failed investment opportunities. He's tired of the company getting bad-mouthed as a result of him, so he's no longer involved. So all the people throwing around those behind MLM articles trash-talking Transact because of Richard don't have a leg to stand on now, lol. Plenty of other angry affiliates took to social media to spread more lies about the situation, claiming Behind MLM is a satire blog. It's not. They report on truth and cite all of their sources. I just don't think that this lady knows what satire is. So while the company was basically non-functioning at this point, they still continued to swindle people out of $495 to sign up as a TransactCard affiliate, with the claim that they were simply experiencing growing pains and promising a new, upgraded experience soon to come. Spoiler alert, it never came. Now, up until this moment, everything I've told you about the history of TransactCard happened in 2023. So if you're wondering why we're talking about this in a 2024 roundup, it's because some stuff went down this year. And I mean that in more ways than one. On February 3rd, 2024, TransactCard announced that there would be a brief suspension of recruiting new people in preparation for new products and services being announced. Of course, this doesn't make sense because every MLM releases new products all the time, and they never have to suspend recruitment every time they announce something new. This announcement came just 5 days after thousands of TransactCard accounts allegedly suffered a data breach, which the company didn't actually disclose to its members. To my knowledge, this data breach was never actually confirmed, but I would assume this swift action by TransactCard came in response to this. Very fishy. But the day following the suspension of recruiting, TransactCard was a thing of the past. The company rebranded as FinMore on February 4th, 2024. It was the same exact model, just with a cosmetic change and an update to company lingo. And it's still owned by the parent company, TZT Holdings LLC, which is still owned by Richard Smith. They replaced Z-Bucks with Fin credits, which you would allegedly be allowed to spend in the FinMore marketplace. Their affiliate enrollment fees were slashed down to a $199 enrollment fee and $50 annually. However, instead of that compound savings account, FinMore launched Flourish, which would cost an extra $50 per month and would basically just give you discounts on health and wellness services and financial services. Quite the downgrade if you ask me, but hey, you'd get $5 per month for every person you recruit to join Flourish underneath you, and $3 on every person those people recruit. I mean, this screams Ponzi scheme to me in my opinion, but this didn't stop affiliates from preaching about how great this change was. Since TransactCard was met with so much negativity, I don't know, maybe just stop following the business endeavors of a known scam artist, guys? Just a thought. Going into the nitty-gritty details of that is honestly pointless because FinMore only lasted for 2 months after the rebrand. On April 13th, 2024, FinMore sent an email out to its members that announced the complete and immediate shutdown of TranzactCard and FinMore. Hilariously, the email blamed not just federal and state regulatory issues for the company's collapse, but also essentially the anti-MLM movement, specifically citing it as incessant noise that surrounds the direct sales industry. That sounds like a personal problem, dude. TranzactCard's swift transition into FinMore, leading to the company's collapse 2 months later, was a classic bait-and-switch scheme. It's unclear how much money people lost to the scam and how many victims there were. There was also one other thing that FinMore blamed for their collapse. While the number 8 spot on this list was dedicated to the complete and utter dumpster fire that was TranzactCard and FinMore, that wasn't the end of the story. So I've divided part 2 of this tale into our number 7 spot. Number 7, Nelo Life. Of course, the corporate team at FinMore couldn't just take responsibility for the blatant scam they were running. They had to point the finger at someone else, and that would be this new company, Nelo Life, which was, in my opinion, created as a final cash grab from FinMore's impending doom. Nick Sorensen, Eric Allen, and Larry Lane, 3 leaders who were optimistically promoting TranzactCard and FinMore, decided to leave FinMore and launch their own company. Using the first letters of their first names, they created the N, E, and L in Nelo. It was discovered later that the 4th co-founder was some guy named Orkin Arat, completing the acronym. This dude owns the company that is providing a white-labeled product line to Nelo Life called Life Converted, while also apparently having owned another MLM called Vidify, which also sold white-labeled products from Life Converted. With this company's launch, FinMore executives were able to lay the blame of their collapse on Nelo Life for launching as a competitor, trying to be the victim and playing the world's smallest violin because they were just so betrayed. And to add to that betrayal, other former FinMore members were buying into Nelo Life and loudly promoting it on their social media accounts. As you can see, Nelo Life seems to have blasted off based on their plan to poach as many FinMore people as possible, and it seems to have worked out for them so far. So Nelo Life's actual business is kind of a mess. As mentioned before, they sell a line of white-labeled products from Life Converted, but looking at their website today, they also sell other product lines as well, including supposedly Lavari, which is the MLM company that sells Mark St. Onge's Black Oxygen Organics dirt. Strange crossover there, not sure what that's about, that's research for another day. Part of Nelo Life's array of branches includes a travel program, where it seems like they just offer to get you discounts on travel-related expenses. While there have been plenty of travel MLMs that have existed out there, most of them don't last very long as they fail to generate enough revenue. They also have an investment trading platform as well, leading to suspicions of Nelo Life just being yet another case of securities fraud. Even more suspicious, the trading platform is not available to citizens of the United States, even though Nelo Life is an American company. Behind MLM claims that this could be due to their failure to register with the SEC and CFTC. Did they just fail to register out of laziness? Or were they barred from operating this trading program in the United States? You know, for other mysterious reasons. That much is unknown for now. What you should be gathering is that Nelo Life's business model essentially adds up to pay a fee, get access to discounted products, and then if you want in on the team building opportunity, there's an extra fee on top of that. And they don't appear to have an option to sell to outside customers. All you can do is recruit people into the organization. You have to sign up with Nelo Life to be able to buy any of these products or access any of the travel discounts at all. I'm obviously not going to go into the compensation plan here. That has been covered by plenty of creators. I'll have their stuff linked down below if that interests you at all. But obviously, Nelo Life made it to our number 7 spot because of how messy its inception was. But also because Nelo Life essentially tried to declare war on the anti-MLM creators that were covering this mess in the form of sketchy and laughable cease and desist letters. Now, I personally know that there was more than one creator who received a cease and desist letter from Nelo Life, but Aaron B's appears to be the only one who made a video tearing this letter apart. While I don't blame the others for not speaking out, I was still happy to see Aaron take a stand against these, in my opinion, unethical tactics used to silence genuine and justified criticism. If you remember, Nelo Life launched in April of this year. Aaron and a few other creators immediately started speaking out about the very obvious red flags in the same way that they always do in their respective content styles. And as soon as those videos started coming out, Nelo Life cried to their attorneys and tried to shut the criticism down. In Erin's case, she made 2 videos about Nelo Life right after it launched. In Nelo Life's letter to Erin, they refer to this as a social media tirade against Nelo Life. Talk about being overdramatic.
They are accusing me in the very first paragraph of going on a social media tirade against Nelo Life. Now here's the thing, guys. I have done 2 videos on Nelo Life. Dare I say that is not a social media tirade.
The most obvious sign of insecurity in an MLM is when they start throwing cease and desist letters at people for simply having an opinion. It's not illegal to have an opinion on the internet. Oh, Pippi's here. It's not defamation to simply react to the words that your distributors or your corporate members are saying. It's not defamation to analyze information that is found on their own website. Yet these companies are so insecure that they will go through any means necessary to try to scare its critics into submission. In my opinion, if you know of any MLM company that has legally threatened or actually sued an anti-MLM creator, that's a huge red flag and you should stay far away.
Some of the untruths that they claim that I made is they said that I said Nelo Life is a scam 13 times. 13 times. I think that they forgot that most of the time if I say something is a scam or a pyramid scheme, typically after that I will say in my opinion. So they left that part out. They said that in video 1, I said that Nelo Life is a pyramid. I said that 18 times. And in video 2, I said it 4 times. So let me say that again in this video. In my opinion, I do think that Nelo Life is a pyramid scheme. So maybe they can count how many times they say that in this video. I don't know. They're also alleging in their cease and desist letter that I said that Nelo Life was only promoting and selling the opportunity to be an affiliate. And from what I recall on those videos, they were in pre-launch. And typically these companies, these MLM companies that are in pre-launch are only recruiting. My question for Nelo Life is, well, were you taking on customers at that time or just recruiting distributors? Because from your videos, in my opinion, it sounded like you were only recruiting. They also said that I said that the primary activity of Nelo Life is affiliate recruiting, which, according to their videos and being in pre-launch, was not the case. I don't know.
Thankfully, Erin sent a very well-written response to Nelo Life's legal team, and nothing ever came of it. I really wanted to showcase this specifically as an example to show the cowardice of these people. MLMs fearmonger people like this all the time. It's refreshing to see us little guys push back. Nelo Life is clearly not so confident in their own business. If they were, they wouldn't be trying to silence the valid criticism of the anti-MLM movement. Number 6, paid per letter. So this paid per letter thing isn't actually new. As a matter of fact, it's been around for years. But the reason why we're talking about it now is because in the year of 2024, it went viral on TikTok when girlies like this started showing up on the platform claiming that they were making thousands of dollars per month by just writing letters.
I wish someone had told me about this side hustle a lot sooner, and I wish I had listened to my friend and jumped on a little bit earlier. But basically, I write 2-line letters every day. I write about 60 of them every day, which is $300 a day. I write 5 days a week, and that equals $6,000 a month for writing letters.
I know, it sounds ridiculous and too good to be true. And it kind of is, which is why paid per letter is in this year's number 6 spot. I want to start out by saying that Hannah Alonzo posted a video that goes into this scam in depth. I highly recommend you watch it because it's so well done, and Hannah basically blew the scam wide open and kind of stopped its growth in its tracks. But I'm going to recap her findings here because, wow, this scam is so much sketchier than I think any of us ever imagined. So the first impression one would have when watching a video like this is that you can make a sizable, livable income if you just get yourself some index cards, envelopes, stamps, and a pen. You can supposedly make thousands of dollars by sending letters to companies, but the method in which these people are claiming this is shrouded in secrecy. These TikTokers aren't outwardly telling us how to send these letters. They're demanding that you send them a DM for more information, and that's a red flag. The first question that most of us had was, what companies are you sending these letters to, and why are they willing to pay you $5 every time you send one to them? The truth is, that's not what's happening at all. In all actuality, all of these viral TikToks are tied to a course. Shocking, I know. The course is offered by a company called Send It Academy, whose logo is suspiciously similar to Subway. How are they even getting away with that? Anyway, so when you send a DM to one of these TikTokers, they'll tell you to pay $225 to take a course offered by Send It Academy called Paid Per Letter. You then have to pay $25 per month every month after that if you want to continue doing this. The course claims that they'll teach you to make between $50 and $70 per hour just by writing letters. The reality of the situation is you're writing to gambling websites and casinos and asking them to bestow credits unto you in the form of sweep coins. You then take these sweep coins and gamble with them, and then you can convert your winnings into cash. That is, if you actually have winnings at all after gambling with them. It's not get $5 per letter. It's send letters, get gambling credits, then we teach you how to gamble. A stark difference from the way it's being promoted on TikTok. Once your letters manifest into sweep coins, Send It Academy will supposedly teach you what games to play so you don't gamble all of those credits away. But come on guys, these are online casinos. There's no guarantee that you'll win anything from those gambling credits at all. Now, Hannah actually did the math on the costs related to running this side hustle, and the amount of money it truly costs to do this is significantly higher than you'd likely expect.
Let's take this woman's example of you and your spouse writing 20 letters each per day, and let's say you do that for a month, so that would total 1,200 letters. The startup cost for this is going to cost you approximately $1,243. This breaks down to $225 for the paid per letter course, about $34 for index cards. They have to be written on 4x6 unruled index cards. That is a requirement. And you're going to be paying about $108 for envelopes, and stamps are 73 cents a piece right now, so that's $876 just in stamps. In other words, it's going to cost you about $1 per letter to send it.
So the potential income on this $5 per letter thing just continues to dwindle. But there's even more of a catch to this. According to these sweepstakes entry rules, these letters must be written word for word in order to qualify.
So my course, which I promote, tells you exactly which companies you can write to. They give you the templates that the companies need, and they look at the templates to make sure that the templates are correct, because my first template had 2 mistakes. So in order to be successful at letter writing, you need to have someone check your letters to make sure they're correct. I use my trusty light board, have my template, take my 4x6 index card and lay it over my template, and then I just write it easily.
In this screenshot shared in Hannah's video, this commenter claims that she wrote 637 letters over the course of 4 months, and none of them were deemed eligible because she wrote the request of instead of this request. Think of how much time and money this woman wasted on all of this. I mean, that's $465 in stamps alone. So you truly need to get every single little tiny detail right if you want to receive your sweeps coins. Otherwise, one slip of a pen swipe may deem your entry to be ineligible and you get nothing. Another thing to consider is that these funds that you may or may not receive by playing through the entire process won't be paid out to you for weeks, if not months. So there's going to be a waiting period when you first start doing this where you're throwing literally thousands of dollars at this and getting no return on that investment for months. You may be asking how this is MLM related. Well, these people on TikTok must have an incentive to be sharing this opportunity, right? Yeah, they do. That would be the fact that for every person these TikTok girlies convince to take the paid per letter course, they're making $100 off of that referral. But when you have women like this lady who got 6.2 million views on that first paid per letter TikTok she made, even if she just converted 1% of those views into referrals, she's made a ton of money off of this. And this lady does this every day. She gets thousands of views per day just by promoting this. Sometimes the algorithm is kind to her and she'll get hundreds of thousands of views. I'd be willing to bet that she's made more money off of recruiting people than she actually has by writing the letters, a very familiar quality we've seen time and time again in the world of MLM. I can admit that writing letters to enter a sweepstakes isn't a scam. It's a real thing that casinos have to offer legally, otherwise they'd be considered an illegal lottery. These alternative methods of entry are why you always hear no purchase necessary when these sweepstakes are being advertised. It's a legal obligation. So none of that is the issue here. The true issue is the deceptive marketing that Send It Academy and its affiliates are using to promote their expensive course that will teach you how to write these letters and gamble away your credits. Add a recruiting component to that and you've got yourself one huge deceptive mess.
Did you get that?
Number 5, BODi. While we certainly saw a plethora of MLMs either closing or dropping the MLM business model in the year of 2024, BODi was one of those that hit the hardest in the form of an aggressive rug pull. The anti-MLM movement will tell you that we saw this coming from a mile away. With their publicly traded stock being down over 98% since its open on the New York Stock Exchange in 2021, we can look at their chart and observe its downfall in real time. And it's a steep and quick decline. When BODi hit the stock market, each share was worth $523.50. As I was scripting this video, the price was a measly $6.24. It was only a matter of time. You most likely know BODi as Beachbody, a multi-level marketing company that sold fitness programs and shitty protein shakes. The brand changed its name to BODi in 2023, and they made some changes to their compensation plan in an attempt to turn itself around after this devastating plummet from grace. The idea was to embrace body positivity and promote more beginner-friendly programs to attempt to get more people on board with the company's offerings. Unfortunately for BODi, this rebrand did nothing to shift the tides away from total failure, mostly thanks to, in my opinion, the work of the anti-MLM movement and our discourse becoming louder and harder to ignore. So on September 30th of 2024, what remained of BODi's pool of distributors were devastated to find out that the company they've been pouring so much of their lives into for so many years would be essentially taking their income away. How did they find this out? Well, BODi CEO Carl Deichler, or the dollar store version of Walter White as I see him, posted a pre-recorded video called Important Team BODi Update and sent it out to the masses.
Today I'm announcing a reinvention of the BODi company, what I believe will be a lucrative new approach to this business opportunity for each of you. The next step in our evolution is to create a compelling opportunity for each of you in a more modernized, contemporary structure without the limitations, obstacles, and stigmas that many of you have had to deal with on a daily basis.
Carl cites obstacles and stigmas in this video, suggesting that shifting away from the MLM business model will certainly shield these poor BODi coaches from us meanie bobini anti-MLMers. Hey, Carl, I don't think that any of BODi's participants gave any singular sort of a shit about any of that. They cared about the income, and the stigma just came with the territory. They knew what they were signing up for, and they still kept working for you regardless of the stigma. So it's just really gaslighty for him to say that. Interestingly enough, Carl admits some really incredible things, and I always love to hear an MLM CEO say stuff like this. It's very validating to us and justifies all of the work that we do here.
For the last couple of years, our customer base hasn't been growing. In fact, it's been shrinking. The same thing can be said for our revenues as a company, and we need to fix that. As the CEO and the guy who started this company, I'm more committed than ever to making sure we fix those problems together.
And perhaps most beautifully, Carl admits that the MLM world is under attack not just by cultural backlash, but by regulatory industries such as the FTC as well.
But for the last several years, network marketing has faced growing headwinds from regulatory and social media attacks and ongoing cultural scrutiny to also our own field having less and less enthusiasm for building and managing teams of partners. I'm not sure if you even maybe pay attention to the regulatory side of this stuff, but we're facing significant legal and regulatory threats to the critical independent contractor relationship between the company and the field. And now, there's even the threat by the Federal Trade Commission, the FTC, to completely ban making any income claims over a few $100s a year in network marketing. Even worse, some regulators and state attorneys general are starting to push for a ban of multi-level marketing altogether. It's become this challenging uphill battle every day, even despite significant changes to the comp plan last year and revisions to our product configurations and incentives. The network has continued a steep decline.
He sits up there and he whines about not being able to make income claims anymore. The fact that anyone complains about this just sheds light on that person's morals and characters. Like, oh no, we aren't allowed to shove our paychecks in people's faces anymore. What are we gonna do? Hearing these words come out of someone like Carl Deichler's mouth is music to my ears. But to answer your question, Carl, I don't know, you could be ethical about how you advertise your business and how you recruit new people. I know that's a really tall ask. Just a thought though. Carl says that they conducted internal surveys and found that nearly half of BODi partners were not comfortable sharing the business opportunity, which is probably due to those cultural hurdles he was talking about earlier. And yeah, using your personal and close social network to make money for yourself while your loved ones inevitably flounder in the business you convince them to join is not a fun time. We've been telling you this for years, Carl. It just took a nice steep stock plummet for you to listen to us. And perhaps the most perfect quote from this video is when Carl says with his whole mouth that the network marketing model isn't working anymore.
We started to research our options, always with the objective to maintain an income opportunity that rewards people who get results with our programs to inspire others to do the same. All this was happening at the same time that we were witnessing other networks changing their models and thinking, surely there must be a way to work through this. For most partners, the network marketing model just isn't working. The reality is the current model is broken and antiquated.
So, as would come naturally after making such a statement, Carl drops the announcement that the company would be switching to a single-level affiliate program.
We'll be transitioning the network business and its compensation structure to a single-level affiliate model over the course of the next 3 months.
It was the bombshell heard around the world as various BODi distributors would take to social media to share their sadness and disappointment.
Damn it. Okay. It's just so many women's lives have changed for the better. The ups and downs of life, it's always been the community. So it is insane to me that that is the part they're taking away. It's just all swept away in, a blink of an eye. So it just really angers me because there was no warning. I cannot understand how you can do that and have a conscience. I've been trying to come on here for the last 15 minutes and this keeps happening. So I'm trying my hardest to get back to so many of you, but I can't right now. Really hard times at my corporate job to allowing me to be home with my babies today, which is why I'm so freaking emotional about this.
As much as we target people at the top of MLM compensation plans for being scammers who make their fortune off the back of others, most of these people are the breadwinners of their family. Many of them have children, and unfortunately, they never took their own advice in diversifying their income. These people threw all of their eggs in the MLM basket, and then they act shocked when the rug gets pulled out from underneath them. We've been trying to warn them for years, and instead of shutting up and listening, they just called us haters and blocked us out of their echo chamber of toxic positivity until it was too late. So yeah, while I feel bad that these people are experiencing such a life-altering change, but I don't feel bad that I was part of a movement that spoke out against companies such as BODi, and then BODi cracked under the pressure. I'm not about to feel bad about that. So BODi launched their affiliate model on November 1st, 2024, and current BODi partners are still getting paid their rank bonuses and stuff through January 1st. After that, it's just affiliate from here on out, which doesn't really affect anyone in BODi who doesn't have a team, but to the few leaders that do, yikes, they're in some deep shit. So I guess you're gonna have to like actually put effort into sales now. In the aftermath of this announcement, we saw a lot of these BODi distributors just jump ship entirely, as to be expected. There was an initial scramble for sure, but a lot of big BODi distributors have jumped on board with a new MLM company in pre-launch right now called Make Wellness. There's also been talk of the existence of bridge contracts that other MLM companies have been offering to top BODi leaders, meaning they're shilling out tons of money to these leaders to bring their whole teams over to their company. I don't think we have proof of those contracts, but we'd be silly to assume that they're not happening.
I've seen a lot of people making a very quick decision. And the reality is, a lot of us could very easily go to a new thing and make a lot of money really fast. I'm just going to be honest with you.
Yeah, because of these bonuses, bridge contracts, sales performance contracts, whatever you want to call them.
Finally, BODi announced that with these new changes, they'd also be laying off 33% of their staff. It makes sense since they're eliminating an entire branch of their operations, so I guess you don't need all those people who run the MLM side anymore. Still though, that's a lot of people who would need to unexpectedly start job hunting just a few months before Christmas, which is very sad. The reason BODi's elimination of the MLM business model needed to be featured in this list is mainly because of the validation it brings to the movement. It shows that everything we've been saying has validity behind it. We're not just a group of haters who are spewing lies on the internet like Carl and his organization always said. We spoke the truth, and the downfall of BODi was a manifestation of those truths. BODi did not fail because they were under attack. They failed because instead of taking responsibility for their unethical behavior when we pointed it out, they just decided they were gonna double down and play the victim. We tried to tell you, Carl. You're lucky you were able to make the choice to drop the MLM model before you had to close your doors for good. Number 4, Kelsey Rhae goes viral. You guys, I toyed around with the idea of including this in our list this year because while it's not really an MLM fail, Kelsey Rhae is a major distributor in Prove It. Also, when I asked you all what you wanted to see me cover in this year's top fails video, so many of you requested that Kelsey Rhae be included, so here we are. First of all, I did a deep dive on Kelsey Rhae a few months back. I highly suggest you watch it because there's so much more to Kelsey Rhae than just Prove It and Unschooling. Like, she almost went to prison for the rest of her life because she was involved in an attempted murder. That sounds interesting, doesn't it? So go watch my deep dive for all that. But right now, we're just going to talk about the crazy impact that Kelsey Rhae had on the internet this year, bringing many more eyes to our side of the internet. If you don't know who this woman is, you must have been living under a rock this year because her face was plastered all over the internet in 2024. And that was because in April, Kelsey Rhae posted this video to TikTok.
If you have a child in public school, I would like to know what your opinion is on this because I don't think that I'm in the wrong here. A lot of you guys, if you've been watching my past videos, you already know that I'm pulling my first grader out of school. I'm gonna let him finish out the school year and then we're gonna be doing Unschool. If you wanna watch more about what that is, there's a video on my profile. Now listen, there's two things that I'm not. I am not a homework mom. I'm not doing that shit. He's with you for 7 to 8 hours a day. Get that shit done in school. The time that he comes home, that's the time that we're spending together, not doing homework, okay? So I'm not doing homework. Also, I'm pretty hard to get a hold of, and I don't think she likes that, but it's like really hard to get a hold of me. So if you need me, call me. I'll answer the phone. Don't be texting me over some app. That's just not my thing, okay? And so that's two things about me as a parent of a child who is currently in public school. Now, the other day, or a couple weeks ago, she sent home in his folder a piece of paper that had a signature side and a date side. And she told him, didn't say nothing to me, told him to tell me I needed to take his homework out of his folder every single night, sign and date this piece of paper, and send it back to her every single day. Now, listen, I took that piece of paper out and I said, I'm not doing that, baby. That has no benefit to you at all. I have 4 kids and I run a massive business through social media. I don't have time. Literally, I put it on the counter and have it signed it. He said, no, mommy, I'm not going to get fuzzies if you don't sign it. I said, first of all, that's not going to happen. You're not going to get punished for something that I'm not doing, okay? And so I just like kind of shrugged it off and I was going to end up messaging her about it, but I never did because I honestly didn't think that was true. I was like, there's no way that she's going to like punish him for something that I'm not doing, right? There's just no way. That's just not... That's not logical to me. Why would you do that? And so anyways, this morning he said, mommy, I only have 1 fuzzy and everybody else has 5 fuzzies who haven't signed my paper for my homework. I said, oh, really? Now, we've already had some other issues going on with my son, you know, of things that he's done being disruptive. We've met before. I've, you know, come to the conclusion that I know my son's not perfect, okay? He is probably the troublemaker. He's the class clown. I get it. But now it's like he's being targeted, and I don't like that. And so he isn't getting fuzzies, and so I've already called the principal, and I was like, I want him moved the rest of the year. If you don't move him to another class to finish out the rest of the year, I'm just going to pull him now, and he's not coming back next year. So I'd like to know your opinions, not even really your opinions, but have you experienced having to do something like this, and fucking why? Why do we need to sign that they're completing this homework and keeping the homework home? We're not even sending it back to be graded. It's just a way for you, like, no. Fuck no. Let me know your thoughts and opinions on this, please.
At the end there, she asked for people's opinions, and boy oh boy did she get them. This video went viral, and soon tons of people on TikTok were making videos in response to the absurdity. Like, how hard is it to sign a paper? And it's interesting that she mentions her son having behavioral issues at school. With a mother like Kelsey Rhae, it's no mystery where that behavior likely comes from. People of the internet experience collective heartbreak for her son and his fuzzies. It seems like Kelsey's messaging there was, your happiness and desires are not my priority, which is an infuriating thing to hear a parent say. And the video as a whole was just so unnecessary to make in the first place because she's complaining about basically nothing. Following the initial backlash, Kelsey Rhae would delete this video from her social media. But the internet never forgets. Soon, YouTubers were using this TikTok of hers to gain hundreds of thousands, if not millions of views for themselves. But Kelsey Rhae loves attention, so she kept going along with the unschooling content. She made the decision to pull her son out of school. She called schools free babysitters, and even at one point referred to her children as her downline.
I want my kids to live a good life, and I want to create a legacy for the rest of my downline of my family.
It got overwhelming enough for Kelsey that she posted a kind of semi-apology / accountability post. It's not great, but you can tell that perhaps for the first time in her life, Kelsey was cracking under pressure, and all of the negative attention that she was getting was becoming too overwhelming.
Things have just gotten completely out of control on my social media and people dragging my name, and my original intention was to just share how I'm going through this as I'm learning to unschool, as I'm learning what works best for us, not coming from a place of being an expert.
Despite how heavy the backlash was, Kelsey made sure to document the first 2 days of her unschooling journey, in which the first day she made her kids clean her car and then they went grocery shopping, and as many pointed out in the comments, that's just running errands and doing chores. The next day, they went to the park so they could learn how to have fun. That's what unschooling looks like for Kelsey Rhae. And this angered the homeschooling and unschooling communities on the internet because she's not unschooling. She's just being a terrible parent and setting her kids up for a lifetime of hardship as they struggle to navigate the world as adults who can't read or do basic math. Kelsey Rhae herself was homeschooled. She says the education she got from homeschooling was insufficient, so why does she think that she's qualified to teach her kids literally anything? The discussion surrounding Kelsey Rhae was widespread, and with many people admitting that they had no idea who Kelsey Rhae was until this point, they began trying to figure out how she was able to even live this unschooling stay-at-home mom lifestyle, which is when everyone discovered that she was a successful #bossbabe, and part of Kelsey Rhae's motive behind creating content is to get more eyes on her so they'll join her team and prove it. Was Kelsey Rhae really about to ruin her kids' lives for clout and potentially more recruits? It would appear so, in my opinion.
I would brag about only having my kids 3 hours a day, how I was such a hustler and I was I would be fucking grinding and running my business and making all this money. And while I still do that, you can actually make money for yourself and be successful and love yourself and love your life and go after your goals and your dreams while still being a good mother. And I think that this idea that we have to choose one has fucked our kids up. Our kids now more than ever need us present. They need us in their space. They need to learn from us. They need to be nurtured by us. They need to feel our love. And if they are in school 8 hours a fucking day, the amount of time that they get to feel those things from us is very minimal. The amount of things that we get to teach them is very minimal. That's why I'm going on this unschooling journey. That's why I'm shifting back into our natural way of living. Is because I'm realizing how detrimental it is to strip children away from their parents, especially at an early age. I'm genuinely starting to feel like I'm going on this mission to help as many moms as I possibly can just take back their life with their kids and love being with their kids and have the energy to be with their kids and to school their kids on their own. And if that's something that you want to do, get in contact with me. There's a link in my bio. You guys can learn more about what I do and how I work from home, because that's a big problem. It's like you can't afford to not go to work. And I get it. I fucking get it. Like, there's ways to make money from home so you can be with your kids, so that you can unschool and homeschool your kids. It doesn't have to be like this. And if you feel that motherly instinct coming back into you where you're like, I really just want to be with my kids. I feel like I'm not with my kids, and if I don't see them, I miss them. Like, they need you more now than ever. So I would love to help you guys do that.
Since then, Kelsey Rhae claims that she found Jesus, even though she shows zero change in behavior. So I guess the Holy Spirit has his work cut out for him with this one. Number 3, Q Sciences, Awakend, and Soul People. So it's been a few years since I featured a trifecta of terrible on this YouTube channel, but this dumpster fire that went on between Q Sciences, Awakend, and Soul People this year is so messy. You might remember last year how we covered a huge fail on Q Sciences' part when they were accused of selling a CBD product that supposedly had THC in the formula, even though it was advertised as THC-free. This caused a top distributor's husband to lose out on his dream job as a firefighter, and it was only downhill from there after this happened. In November of 2023, Q Science's co-owner Jake Spencer linked arms with Awakend's co-owner Rodney James. Thanks to Erin Bees, she covered both sides of this partnership, so I'll be playing clips from her videos. So Jake had allegedly told Rodney that Q Sciences wasn't doing so well, and they needed financial assistance to pay out commissions to its distributors. I'll let Rodney tell you what went down in his own words.
Back in November, we were introduced to Jake at Q Sciences by a mutual friend in the industry. He described that Q Sciences was at an impasse and needed financial assistance in order to pay commissions that week. We knew that if we were in that position, we would hope that someone would show us some grace and help us. So soon after that initial call with Jake, Ashley and I wired $275,000 to Q Sciences so the commissions to their hard-working sales field could be paid. We all signed an agreement promising that this money would be repaid the following month in December. Throughout December, we had multiple conversations with Jake and discussed how Awakend and Q Sciences complemented each other. We talked about alignment, shared vision, a passion for the future, and realized that by working together, a beautiful partnership could be formed. And we are committed to expanding the Awakend mission globally. And with the international markets Q Sciences offered, we were excited to sign a memorandum of understanding at the end of December.
An MOU, a lot of people call it.
This MOU stated the intent to merge operations and have Ash and I become 85% majority owners of the merged entity, with Jake and Sarah Spencer at 15% ownership. Upon the signing of this MOU, we agreed to not collect the initial $275,000, and we continued to offer some more financial assistance, infusing a total of $796,000 into Q Sciences to maintain its business operations.
Nearly $800,000 was spent by Awakend to try to get Q Sciences back on track. Unfortunately for Awakend, Q Sciences had a lot more debt than Awakend knew about. So Jake Spencer allegedly lied to Rodney James about how much debt they actually had, and Rodney had to go back on his offer to become an 85% shareholder. But he still says he did try to help Q Sciences out to the best of his ability.
In February, we uncovered that the debt initially disclosed was not a true representation of the total debt that Q Sciences was facing. Awakend executives put our reputations on the line to meet with the Q Sciences creditors in order to lower the debt payments to be more in line with the current revenues. Additionally, because of the level of the debt and the strict terms surrounding the debt, the initial MOU that offered us majority ownership couldn't be upheld. However, we kept a positive outlook, and we continued to be mindful of the potential the partnership offered to both sales fields. So we proceeded in good faith with the promise from Mark Wilson, Q Sciences owner and founder, that a way forward would be found. Even without a final agreement in place, we did everything possible to support Q Sciences, including allowing them to move into the Awakend office when Q Sciences was evicted from their building for non-payment.
Obviously, things didn't work out between the two companies, leading Awakend to serve Q Sciences with a demand for repayment. It's unclear if that repayment was made, but Q Sciences came out with their own video statements in response to Rodney's video, and of course, they had to come out and basically call Rodney a liar.
In light of news over the weekend, that we, through a series of events last week, and the previous week, and then over the weekend, we obviously are no longer moving forward with the Awakend merger.
Yeah, and I think, there was some unfortunate things that happened last night that were, I have to tell you, were surprising to me, were saddening to me, and actually upsetting. And I think I need to tell you, I probably watched that Zoom that went out last night to everybody probably 10 times. And particularly Rodney's narrative of the interactions with Q Sciences going back to December. As I analyze that very carefully, I want to tell you that it's filled, in my opinion, it's filled with shadings of the truth, half-truths, and in some cases, outright untruths. And so, we're in a position where, what do we do? And it's not our style to respond, and in many respects, but I think in this case we have to respond. He's put us in a position where we have to respond. We have to be a little careful how we respond. I think this will end up in litigation, and I will tell you that our attorneys have told us that we should not go through the narrative that he gave last night, point by point, to abut or to comment. But there are some things that we need to comment on, and so that's why we're going to take some time here and address some of the things that came out in that Zoom.
The interesting thing about Q Science's response to Rodney's video is that I personally feel like Rodney's statements were very short, concise, and while he did say the exact dollar amounts they exchanged, he didn't give that many details other than that. If the numbers are wrong, Q Sciences should easily be able to provide the paperwork necessary to prove that. But they haven't, so I think that speaks volumes. My opinion is that they tried to spin this whole thing to make it look like they were the victim, which is interesting to me because it appears as though they're the ones who went to Rodney for financial help, not the other way around. I would guess that if any body language experts were to watch Jake Spencer in this video, they'd come to that conclusion too. He just looks so smug. Q Science's response video was much longer than Awakend's. It was filled with Jake's wife crying and making excuses and trying to emotionally manipulate the viewer and rambling.
I didn't deal with a lot of the day-to-day workings that these gentlemen did. And, their hearts bleed for you guys. I didn't think I'd get emotional, but having these two here, remembering what they did for Q for 12 years and for Jake another 6 years.
They claim that Awakend needed Q Sciences for certain things. I don't think Awakend needed Q Sciences for anything. I mean, sure, there would have been a few perks, I guess. But Jake's wife is up here trying to spin it like it was just some mutual need within each other. Even though Q Sciences is allegedly the ones who got kicked out of their office space for non-payment. But yeah, it's totally equal and mutual. Jake's wife goes on to say that they just need to build harder than you ever have before just to prove a point, and tries to convince people that they need to stay in Q Sciences, essentially gaslighting their people into sticking things out with them.
We all have a decision to make, and I would hope and I would pray that everybody decides to stay and build stronger and harder than you ever have before just to prove something, right? And that's kind of how we feel.
And with all the class that Jake could muster at the end here, he takes a moment to just absolutely trash Awakend's products. Which, I mean, Awakend was featured on one of my top fails of the year compilations because the distributors were reporting that they were actually pooping Awakend's Zenith pills out whole. So Jake is probably right in his assessment that Awakend's products are garbage, but it's just a matter of principle here.
Also, for those people, as we've stopped selling Zenith, Uplift, and Unwind in the cart. We've not sold BrainTap since we had the issue of connecting the devices. We didn't feel comfortable with it for over a month.
Jake, Mr. No THC in our products boy, has no room to speak on another company's products, especially if his own products aren't paying the rent. Alongside all of this mess, Behind MLM reports that an Instagram post surfaced from one of Q Science's advisory council members that essentially blamed Jake Spencer for Q Science's demise. Apparently, this was in reference to a series of events that led Jake to suspend some of the company's highest earners and withholding their pay because of some of the disagreements regarding a digital course. The post read, "We will not mince words. We have no choice because of the lies, manipulation, and inappropriate behavior we have endured at the hands of co-owner and then president of Q Sciences, Jake Spencer. As shameful as it seems, it appears no one within this network is beyond the reach of his unethical conduct, including a substantial amount of field leaders and corporate employees who have shared with us about the emotionally abusive and immoral conduct of Mr. Spencer." So Jake sounds like a real winner. But anyway, Q Sciences is still an active website where you can purchase their line of products to this day. They've switched up their compensation plan, of course, calling Q Sciences reps affiliates now, but it still looks like there's at least 2 levels to this compensation plan, so there's still an incentive to recruit. They only offer a 10% commission, which is basically nothing, but if you recruit a ton of people and they make sales to other people, you can make 5% on those orders as well, if I'm understanding correctly. The compensation plan doesn't seem to go any deeper than those 2 levels though. As far as I'm concerned, Q Sciences is still an MLM, but they are on the fast track to run themselves off of a cliff, in my opinion. I mean, the company's practically dead. They stopped regularly posting to their Facebook in April, and then randomly made a Happy 4th of July post where a few affiliates took to the comment section to be like, "So what's up, man? Don't you care about us anymore?" Q Sciences has been silent on social media ever since. That's not the end of the story though, so remember how at the beginning of the section I called this a trifecta of terrible? That's because now we need to discuss Awakend's messy downfall and their evolution this year after all that stuff went down with Q Sciences. First of all, in 2022, Awakend tried to serve a slap lawsuit against a company called Nelo Life for defamation. Basically, Rodney James and his buddy Danielle Mioli, who was a distributor for Nelo Life at the time, were planning to start Awakend together. Awakend claims that Nelo Life started defaming Danielle and Rodney to Nelo Life's organization in an effort to keep people from joining them. Well, Nelo Life responded to this lawsuit with an anti-slap suit of their own. Finally, in June of this year, Awakend was ordered to pay $33,176 to Nelo Life for their legal costs in fighting this slap lawsuit. Awakend filed an appeal to this decision, but to no avail. While $33,000 isn't really a majorly substantial amount of money for a company to shell out, it's just another thing to add to the steaming pile of poop pills that Awakend had become. About 2 weeks after this announcement came out, Awakend collapsed for good. This was following some cryptic posts made by Awakend Distributors about the company having yet another relaunch. This relaunch was in the form of a brand new company called Soul People. While still owned and operated by Rodney James, the face of Soul People is his significant other, Ashley Headley, and also Whitney Rose from the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. While that seems like a really random partnership, apparently Whitney's husband, Justin Rose, was the president of Awakend. Before that, he was the chief sales officer at Life Vantage. He allegedly got fired after Whitney became a public figure by appearing on The Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, leading him to seek employment as Awakend's president. The two have been money-sucking leeches in the MLM world for years now. Launched on the day of the summer solstice in 2024, Soul People was basically just an Awakend reboot, only with girlies running the face of it this time. They sell overpriced wellness products, and they also carry Whitney Rose's personal skincare line called Wild Rose Beauty, which is also extremely overpriced. And get ready for a curveball because Soul People also sells digital courses alongside their wellness and skincare. They currently have 4 of them that seem to be focused around essentially manifesting your dream life. You can buy all 4 of them for $388. Side note, one of these courses is actually run by Megan Deschart. Remember her from last year's Top Fails? So yeah, she went back to MLM, just like I predicted she would, because MRR is an unsustainable cash grab. Megan milked that opportunity dry and then really sat up here and said, actually, I guess MLM isn't so bad. How anyone still looks up to Megan Deschart as a respectable figure in business is mind-boggling to me. Remember how I said Jake Spencer was being called out for withholding Q Science's distributors' commissions and suspending their accounts because of a digital course? Well, yeah, those 4 girlies sold that course to Soul People. It's called Soul Digital Wealth Blueprint, and fascinatingly enough, Behind MLM reports that at one point they had this disclaimer on the course's website. If you are an active ambassador with Q Sciences, you may not purchase any of our digital products without the written consent of Q Sciences compliance department. Fascinating. So, Soul People's out here doing its thing, although in August, some of its top leaders left the company after just a short amount of time. One left because of Jesus-y reasons. Apparently manifestation and meditation is too demonic for them. I don't know. Other Soul People distributors left for Bellamy after only a few months in Soul People, almost as if they joined to take advantage of fast start and team building bonuses, and then they jumped on to the next one. It'll be interesting to see what happens with Soul People in 2025, but I can't imagine it'll see much success in the long run. Number 2, the Monat Mess. The anti-MLM movement has had our sights fixated on Monat for years now. Once one of the biggest names in the industry, birthing popular teams such as WFAB and giving us a reason to despise the company and its ethos time after time, Monat has officially become a shell of its former glory. The long-awaited collapse of Monat is imminent, and that's thanks to the wild events of 2024. In early 2024, we started seeing a mass exodus of top leaders, not just leaving Monat, but doing their own exposés on the company. Haley Stell Turner posted to Instagram about being terminated from Monat. This was kind of a funny post because she tries to say it was her decision to leave, but she was just dragging her feet, so God stepped in and made Monat terminate her, finally making the decision for her. Haley cited her concerns with product formulations, leadership changes, which we'll get into, and compensation plan changes as her reason for wanting to leave. She's now a mega olive tree people hun. For the next few weeks, it was a slow trickle of distributors leaving until Angela Sumner got thrown into the mix. For all the details about Angela Sumner, make sure you watch my deep dive into her. She's fascinating and infuriating. But she came onto the anti-MLM radar a few years ago when she joined Monat during the early days of the pandemic, and during that time, she would regularly make problematic, anti-Semitic, racist, and anti-vax statements while sporting Monat gear. Well, after 2 years of shilling for Monat, Angela went on a rampage against the company on her Instagram stories, saying that God told her she had to quit because Monat had lost sight of him. Sure, Jan. She actually said Monat had become demonic, so she made the decision to leave. She told her team this, and before she had the chance to quit, Monat allegedly terminated her. Very, you can't quit because you're fired energy, if we're to believe Angela's timeline of events. Unsurprisingly, Angela also joined Olive Tree People, but this didn't last for long, at all. It's not clear exactly what happened behind the scenes, but I suspect that Monat threatened Angela legally, probably because of some breach of contract or something. Maybe defamation, but I think it's likely something to do with Angela taking her Monat team with her to Olive Tree People, which propelled her to the 6th rank in Olive Tree People in her first few days. I don't know that for sure, but it makes sense because almost as quickly as she joined Olive Tree People, she was out. She actually quit social media for a few weeks, came back to talk more shit about Monat and its distributors, and then left again. At one point, she even privated her main social media account, but don't worry, she came back again shortly after and also launched a new Instagram account. She rebranded again as a crunchy momfluencer who went from witch to Christ, and it's not clear what she's doing for money these days. All I can see are occasional Amazon affiliate links, which I know for a fact she's not making much money from that. As an aside, when Angela joined Olive Tree People, she said that they were running a promotion that if you make it to a certain rank in the company, they give you 100,000 shares of the company.
You have the option of securing founder shares. Founder shares means you're one of the first people to get in. And that means that for life, you get a percentage of the company's revenue. So right now, the founder shares are worth $4 each. And when you hit founders, you get 100,000 shares. They're projected to go to $12 this year. That's $1.2 million.
Olivita, which is the parent company of Olive Tree People, is publicly traded. She said the company was projecting their growth to be $12 per share by the end of the year. So basically, if you joined Olivita under her, she was saying that you would get $1.2 million from the company. Well, the joke's on her because right now, as I'm scripting this video, the Olivita stock is sitting at $2.90. I guess that $12 stock price was yet another lie, huh? If you ever need a reason to never believe what any MLMer tells you when they're trying to recruit you, there's a really good one for you to refer back to. But anyway, that's all small potatoes compared to what happened next, because Monat got hit with a major lawsuit from Stuart Macmillan, Monat's ex-president, who worked for Monat for over 9 years. He actually made a fairly quiet exit in mid-2023, claiming that he decided to retire. No details were really given for Stuart's seemingly abrupt departure, but as soon as he left, many distributors said that the company went downhill. Particularly the Jesus-y Monat people, because Stuart used to hold sermons at Monat events and he would go on an annual New Year prayer Zoom call and do some preaching there. Once Stuart left and they didn't have those things to look forward to anymore, suddenly God left Monat and now it was run by demons. We got the answers we all wanted on April 24th, 2024, when this bombshell lawsuit was filed by Stuart Macmillan against Monat and the company's owners, Louise and Ray Urdaneta. It's a 50-page document. I read through all of it on a live stream, so if you want all the nitty-gritty little details, I'll have that live stream linked down below. But here are the highlights. The lawsuit claims that Stuart was supposed to receive profit share payments from Monat in the form of 3% of the company's profits, and he was supposed to receive those payments for 8 years after his employment ended with the company, among other bonuses. But according to the lawsuit, the Urdanetas were allegedly artificially shrinking the profits that Monat was making because the Urdaneta family also owned the company who was manufacturing Monat's products, B&R Products LLC. So they basically charged Monat an exorbitant amount of money, eating into Monat's profits on the books, and then keeping that extra money for themselves because now, technically, those dollars were the profits of the manufacturing company, not Monat. Meaning Stuart's profit-sharing earnings and other bonuses were either extremely small or non-existent altogether, meaning Stuart, the president of Monat, was being severely underpaid by the company for nearly a decade. Stuart also made other claims like how they created a hostile work environment for him because they were jealous that all of Monat's market partners loved Stuart. Other claims include Monat using company funds to fund the Urdaneta's luxury lifestyle and other personal expenses. Stuart also submitted a letter that showed Monat was willing to send him the money that he was owed, but under strict circumstances that would control who Stuart was allowed to invite to events or even communicate with, including his own daughter, since she had been an employee of Monat. Stuart obviously was not about to agree to that. In response, the Urdaneta family allegedly went off on a sort of smear campaign against Stuart to Monat's remaining market partners. One market partner came out and claimed that at one of Monat's events, they called Stuart the devil with the Bible on stage in front of those attending.
Senior Luis, the chairman of the company, got on stage and referred to an individual as the devil with a Bible. And we all know who he was talking about. We're not idiots. So then he went on this long, big preaching thing about God and whatever else, which I don't judge people's walks with the Lord. Like, I know they look all different, but it was interesting to me and to notice that as soon as Stuart left, God was all of a sudden part of this conversation. Previously in his conversations, he was talking about how he needed a bigger yacht and how he needed more money in his wallet, but whatever. So that happened. Of course, none of the people in Vegas, didn't hear about that because they weren't there, right? So it was only the people in the room. And the vibe in the room was very, very weird. And Chris had gone on this trip with me and he was like, did you hear that? Like, what was that about? And then Ray, the CEO, got on stage. And right after his dad got done talking about God and people being the devil with the Bible, he got on stage and said something along the lines of, and put it up on the screen, and it said, who the f*** cares what they think anyways? Quite literally said the word from stage as the CEO. And I was like, I'm done here.
They were essentially making Stuart out to be a suppressive person like they do in Scientology. Add information control to the mix and you've got yourself a grade A cult, in my opinion. At the very least, Stuart's statement that the Urdanetas run Monat as a mafia family seems pretty spot on. This lawsuit was probably the juiciest thing that we saw come out of the MLM industry this year, having spent years trying to prove that Monat was an unethical business, teetering on the edge of cult territory. When you have Monat's own president speaking out against the Urdaneta family, while also shedding light on the way the family was only interested in enriching themselves against the company's and market partners' best interests, it's just like, yup, we've been saying this for years. And it's been confirmed by Stuart Macmillan himself. Now, of course, the Urdanettas filed a countersuit against Stuart, claiming he was too obsessed with fame, recognition, and adoration by beautiful women that he was allegedly making bad decisions on behalf of the company. The lawsuit turns this whole dispute into a he said, she said mess, where the Urdanettas blame Stuart for the company's decline in sales, despite the fact that the entire industry was losing momentum as a whole during the same exact time period. They also claim that Stuart tried to find someone to sell the company to behind the Urdanettas' back, while also at the same time claiming that they were meeting with the investors that Stuart was finding. That wouldn't align with their claim that this was being done behind their backs. Why would you agree to meet with multiple interested buyers and investors if you didn't want to sell the company? It makes no sense. Also, at one point, the Urdanettas claimed that they weren't having financial issues, even though they just got done blaming Stuart for their financial issues. There's a lot of conflicting statements in this countersuit, and it's not a good look for the Urdanettas. Instead, the Urdanettas tried to paint Stuart Macmillan's character in a negative light by saying that he would get inebriated at company events and sow drama between market partners and teams. There's a lot more petty claims in this lawsuit, so if you want to read it more, there's a link in the description for you if you want. Currently, the latest update to this case is that on January 9th, 2025, Stuart and the Urdanettas are scheduled to attend a mediation to potentially resolve the case. In other news, Monat also terminated Toni Van Schoik, the company's first market partner. Toni says this is because she was asking too many hard questions about why her commission checks had suddenly been slashed by 75%. Toni had worked side by side with Stuart and the Urdanettas and was placed on a Monat pedestal as someone who essentially helped build Monat. This makes sense because as the first market partner, she would have been the first person to do any recruiting. She was basically the upline to rule them all, so her termination obviously came as a surprise. Toni then went live to announce the termination and also announced that she'd be filing her own lawsuit against the company. I covered that as well. The video's pretty juicy, so it'll be linked in the description. But since then, her husband has been giving updates and spilling tea about Monat occasionally on his Instagram. I've watched a bit of those on live streams as well. They're also interesting. The resulting lawsuit filed by Toni against Monat was not nearly as interesting as any of us had hoped for or expected. I also read this lawsuit on a live stream, so if you want information on it, you can go watch that, but just know it really doesn't spill very much tea. The most current court records say that the case is still pending. There are updates, but I don't know what any of them mean, so I'll put them on the screen, I guess, but it just doesn't seem to be concluded yet. Afterwards, Toni went off and joined Amari. That didn't last long, though, because she left a few months after joining, and now she's in Shopley. And while we all thought that Toni was insufferable before all of this, she's now spreading dangerous anti-chemotherapy, anti-doctor, and anti-medicine rhetoric. This is made particularly disturbing when you learn that a few months ago her husband was diagnosed with cancer, and Toni has been making posts saying that she's going to cure him, as if she's Jesus Christ himself, using only natural remedies. We all saw how that worked out for Jesse Lee Ward. Toni's husband seems like a genuinely good dude, so I hope he takes control of his own life and follows the advice of legitimate oncologists. If he doesn't, I have a great fear that we'll be watching a slow and painful descent into the end stages of cancer yet again. Needless to say, Monat has had a crazy year, and it's been fun watching the company turn on itself. Hopefully, the company is on its final legs and won't be around much longer. Number 1. Melaleuca sues Hannah Alonzo. Okay, I've debated on whether or not I want to bring this up in this year's wrap-up for my own safety and well-being. However, after asking you all what you wanted to see in this top fails, so many of you wanted me to cover this, and yeah, it was huge. I think it deserves our number 1 spot as the biggest MLM fail of the year because of the Streisand effect that Melaleuca brought unto itself, the absolute desperation that Melaleuca exhibits in trying to defend itself from actual reality, in my opinion, and the way that Hannah's audience and the anti-MLM movement in general knew immediately that something was fishy. We've never bought into Melaleuca's propaganda, and we refuse to, even more so now after what they did to Hannah. But first, I need to cover my ass. So, first of all, I want to say that Hannah Alonzo did not ask me to make this video. She did not pay me to make this video. She is not involved in the making of this video. Everything that I'm talking about here is public facing, and I found all of it on the open web. I will be linking all of my sources in the description so you can research all of this for yourself. Also, nothing that I'm saying here should be taken as anything other than my own opinion, and that opinion is based on my own personal personal research and my personal interpretation of said research. So please, by all means necessary, conduct your own research before coming to your own conclusions on this. Thank you. Obviously, this video is an MLM top fails compilation. Now, Melaleuca vehemently denies that it's an MLM to the point where they're taking legal action against people who say otherwise. In my opinion, Melaleuca is an MLM. And I'll also admit that, hey, maybe I'm wrong, but based on my own personal research and observations, I absolutely believe that the company should be labeled as a multi-level marketing company. And I am not the only person who thinks this. In 2012, the company's CEO, Frank Vandersloot, made a whole statement claiming Melaleuca was not an MLM, and he's been defensive about it ever since. This was obviously over a decade ago, but there's a video of an attorney who works with MLM companies, and he goes through Frank Vandersloot's statement and essentially debunks it. I'll also have that link down below if you want to watch it in full, but here's a few highlights.
Vandersloot got called into question because he, or maybe an entity that he controls, contributed to one of Mitt Romney's super PACs. And the media went after him. They called him out on some conduct that he's done in the past, or allegedly done. Whatever they said, it prompted him to issue a statement, a very lengthy statement. He says, "It's unfortunate that someone would suggest that Melaleuca is something like Amway. It's not. Contrary to those who do not know us, our business model is nothing like Amway or Herbalife. Nothing like those two companies. I challenge anyone to find any similarity whatsoever." And so this is me sort of answering that challenge and kind of pointing out some pretty obvious facts about the Melaleuca model. Here's some basic reasons why I would put Melaleuca in the MLM category. They're part of the DSA, which is an association that I'm a member of. They're a member of the Direct Sales Association, which is a trade association that largely represents MLMs. Some of the early attorneys with Vandersloot in the early 90s were Kevin Grimes and Spencer Reese. Those guys went on to become MLM attorneys. It wasn't a coincidence. They were familiar with MLM law because of their association with Melaleuca. They operate a matrix pay plan, and in my opinion, that makes them an MLM. But it's a program where people pay money to join in exchange for the right to recruit other participants. At Melaleuca, you can recruit participants or have additional participants placed underneath you, right? Basically, you can create a genealogy. In Melaleuca, you can do that. You can also sell goods or services. The second element's also met with Melaleuca. You can join their business, recruit people, and you can sell their products, which are good products. You can receive commissions, provided that the payments come from basically product sales. And I think the third element is pretty clearly met with Melaleuca's model. They've been doing it for a long time. Melaleuca on occasion sues distributors or they sue companies, and largely because when distributors leave Melaleuca, they join a competing company. There's a case out there where Melaleuca actually won a temporary restraining order against Max International because Max was considered a competing business. Why are they a competing business? Because Max International is a multi-level marketing company and they compete directly with Melaleuca. And then he goes on to say there's no investment of any kind unless you want to call a $29 membership fee an investment. Well, you don't have to invest in Amway to join, and they have a very small enrollment fee. Melaleuca really benefits from the collective efforts of the MLM community. Melaleuca is a very prominent member in the DSA. I think it's pretty clear that Melaleuca is an MLM.
Similarly, Behind MLM shared the same sentiments about Melaleuca when they reviewed the company in 2019. They also said this year in their coverage of the feud between Melaleuca and Hannah, Behind MLM reviewed Melaleuca in January 2019. Having glanced over a more recent copy of Melaleuca's compensation plan, not much has changed. Having refreshed my memory on Melaleuca, both from our published review and a more recent copy of its compensation plan, I believe I can weigh in on the two key points that appear to have prompted Melaleuca's lawsuit. The first is whether Melaleuca is an MLM company. It absolutely was in 2019 and absolutely is in 2024. I'm not stating that within the context of any negative connotations Melaleuca might harbor towards MLM. I'm stating it as a matter of fact based on Melaleuca's compensation plan. I've linked an article by the FTC in this video's description that goes over how they define what an MLM is, and I've also linked Melaleuca's 2024 compensation plan as well. In my opinion, when you juxtapose the FTC's definition next to Melaleuca's compensation plan, there is no other way to interpret their business model as anything other than what our society deems to be an MLM. Also, Melaleuca is a member of the Direct Selling Association, whose website defines themselves as the National Trade Association for companies that market products and services directly to consumers through an independent entrepreneurial sales force. It also defines its members as direct selling companies that have completed the application process and recommit annually to our code of ethics. Why would they be a member of the DSA, a group of companies that you have to apply to be part of, if they claim that they're not exactly what the DSA claims to defend? Oh, and also, Wikipedia has a long list of MLM companies, and guess who's on it? In my opinion, Melaleuca has developed so many new definitions and has created an abundance of extra hoops to jump through that they're relying on confusion when arguing that they are not an MLM. Their very own compensation plan says, all compensation to our marketing executives is based on the sale of products to end consumers. However, you will never have to sell a single product to anyone, since all products are sold directly by Melaleuca to its customers. Your role is simply to refer customers to shop at Melaleuca. In 2014, Melaleuca made a statement in Idaho Falls magazine defending itself against MLM claims. Here's their defense in their own words. When differentiating Melaleuca from MLM definitions and companies, Melaleuca CEO Frank Vandersloot says Melaleuca simply does not have multiple levels of distribution. Melaleuca does not have distributors, and its marketing executives are not salespeople. The role of the marketing executive is to refer customers to Melaleuca, help them set up shopping accounts, and then train others to do so. Essentially, they don't peddle products like MLM distributors. Vandersloot backs up this point by showing Melaleuca's policies actually prohibit marketing executives from selling products directly to others. Because all customers order directly from Melaleuca, the point of sale happens directly between the customer and the company and not from a salesperson or distributor. This point is a fundamental element in demonstrating how Melaleuca does not meet MLM definitions. Additionally, Vandersloot says that typical MLM companies are designed to attract people to invest in inventories of product with the promise of getting rich quickly by getting others to invest. In Melaleuca's case, there is no investment and no getting others to invest. Instead of hoping for a quick win by getting customers to make large upfront investments, Melaleuca has sought to develop long-term customers. So it seems like Melaleuca's whole thing is, we don't pay you to sell products, we pay you to refer people to our organization, and then they'll go buy their products on their own. But then they're part of the DSA, which is an organization of businesses that market products to consumers through an independent sales force, so that would be contradictory to that. Also, it seems like Vandersloot is being intentionally deceptive in what he defines as a typical MLM. While the industry as a whole certainly represents those sentiments, it's not what defines an MLM. They're just secondary characteristics of many, but not all of them. In my opinion, Frank Vandersloot has his own definition of what an MLM is, and he's trying to brainwash his constituents into adopting the same belief. In reality, the FTC is the ultimate authority of what the definition of an MLM is, not Frank Vandersloot. This is only one tiny piece to the manufactured confusion that I believe Melaleuca has willingly created. They seem to have a roundabout way in getting out of every MLM-centric criticism anyone could possibly have. In my opinion, though, when looking at the big picture, if you look at the entire business model as a whole, it is very clear that Melaleuca should be classified as an MLM, despite their attempts to say otherwise. Now, since this is not a deep dive about Melaleuca, and for the sake of time and entertainment, I'm not going to dig any deeper into that with you right now. For a further in-depth analysis of why I believe and others believe that Melaleuca is an MLM, I've linked Behind MLM's coverage of Melaleuca in the description below. They go in pretty hard, and it's worth the read if you need further confirmation of what I believe that Melaleuca truly is. So what exactly happened between Hannah Alonzo and Melaleuca? So on June 24th of 2024, Hannah posted a video where she was doing a Zoom call with what has been described as Melaleuca influencers by Chelsea. Here's how she describes what went down.
Now, Hannah actually did a great video, in my opinion. I think it was a really great video about the company Melaleuca, where she actually interviewed was it one or two? I think it was two. Like Melaleuca influencers, I guess is what you could call them. And they wanted to sponsor her YouTube channel and basically have her, do an ad for them. And so they had a Zoom call. She talked about it with them. And obviously she wasn't going to do it.
That in and of itself is confusing. Who were these girlies? Chelsea says she doesn't think that they were from the corporate side. So since when are these independent contractors out here trying to get creators to promote their brand? And perhaps the bigger question here is, what planet do these people live on where they thought, you know what, I'm gonna reach out to arguably the biggest anti-MLM creator on the platform and see if she'll take us on as a sponsor? They must be the most delusional people on the planet to think that they could misrepresent Melaleuca to someone like Hannah without her already knowing what the company's about. It's just wild. Obviously, the original video had to be deleted by Hannah, but there are plenty of Reddit threads commenting on the video after it was released. They were saying things like, "She did such an awesome job. IDK how anyone can watch this and still think Melaleuca isn't an MLM. She demolished Alice, and she should be grateful Hannah kept her identity secret because this video is so embarrassing for her. What an absolute fail for these two who reached out to an anti-MLM creator for a sponsorship collab. Could they be more stupid?" MVP of anti-MLM commentary. It was absolutely wild that she had literally done videos about Melaleuca and they literally acted like she didn't know who they were. Brands definitely don't watch your videos before sponsoring. They just look at your analytics and overall niche. But to be a very personal sponsor like this and do zero research on her before reaching out is just so wild to me. My favorite moment in the video was after revealing that they deleted the Zoom, Hannah goes, "Did you really think I'd trust them to save the meeting for me?" and whips out her own copy. I audibly cackled. She's my favorite. I was giggling, kicking my feet, and elbowing my very indifferent to MLM's husband periodically when I thought Hannah had a gotcha moment, which was constant. On the small chance you read here, Hannah, thank you so much. You said everything I've always wanted to say, but wasn't eloquent enough to convey when presented with a totally not an MLM opportunity. So yeah, Hannah essentially exposed what these Melaleuca marketing executive people were doing. The audience was having a field day with it. And Melaleuca got really mad. While the video was incredibly well done, as is all of Hannah's work, it really ripped Melaleuca to shreds. Now, it's important to remember that at this time, Hannah's husband had just been deployed. She was not living in their home in Florida. She was living in Washington to be closer to her family while her husband was away. And she's also a mother to a barely 1-year-old child. She had a lot of stressful life changes going on at the time, and Melaleuca pounced during perhaps the most inhumane time they possibly could. Around July 4th, Hannah posted a badass reel to Instagram that I remember very well. It had that Taylor Swift song, "Who's Afraid of Little Old Me," playing in the background, and then Hannah shows us a cease and desist letter, tosses it over her shoulder, and then as the papers drifted to the ground, she walks out of frame. Now, the interesting part about this cease and desist letter is that this letter was served to Hannah personally. Melaleuca literally hired someone to go to Hannah's house and serve her papers. And she had just moved to the opposite side of the country, so she had a brand new address, and they still managed to track her down to serve her. Now, I have received quite a few cease and desist letters in my time here. I've only received 2 by snail mail. The rest I've ever received came in through an email, but never have I once ever been formally served cease and desist papers. And I don't know a single other person who has either, except for Hannah now, apparently. Cease and desist letters aren't legally binding, and 99% of the time it's simply a scare tactic, which is used to silence criticism, and that person sending said cease and desist letter doesn't actually have any intentions of filing a lawsuit. Lawsuits are expensive and time consuming and stressful, and most of us know that. So when you see your favorite creator talking about maybe receiving a cease and desist letter or something like that, it's usually in jest because they are widely viewed as a joke. Unfortunately for Hannah, she was the 1% in this situation in the worst way. Less than 1 week after Hannah posted that Instagram reel, Melaleuca filed a lawsuit against her for not complying with their letter. I can say for a fact that not a single one of us saw this coming. Unfortunately, the state of Idaho doesn't offer actual legal records to be downloaded by the public, so no one that I know of has a copy of this lawsuit. And on that note, I'm not a legal professional, so I don't know how all of this works, but it was always under the assumption for me that when you're suing someone, the plaintiff, so the person filing the lawsuit, has to file said lawsuit where the defendant lives, not where they live. But I mean, apparently I'm wrong about that, because that's exactly what Melaleuca did to Hannah, and they got away with it. I just don't know how you can hold someone to the rules in a place that you don't even live. Without seeing the lawsuit itself, in my opinion, I believe that it was probably a SLAP suit. SLAP stands for Strategic Lawsuit Against Public Participation. Essentially, it's a lawsuit that people with a lot of money file against people with significantly less money to bully them into silence. 33 states in the United States have anti-SLAP protections. Florida and Washington are 2 of those states, but Idaho is not. I still do not understand how Melaleuca was able to file this lawsuit in Idaho and serve it against someone in an anti-SLAP state, but it's interesting to note that in 2017, Forbes listed Melaleuca's CEO, Frank Vandersloot, as the richest person in Idaho and the 302nd richest person in America. He also has a reputation for being incredibly litigious. There's a whole section in his Wikipedia article about him filing lawsuits against his critics, not including this one with Hannah. Just the worst kind of rich person in my opinion. Meanwhile, you have Hannah, honestly one of the most genuinely kind people I've ever had the pleasure of knowing. I adore her, and the internet adores her too, and that is evidenced by the anti-MLM creators subreddit. It's pretty much a snark subreddit, and they were being incredibly kind and supportive of Hannah. Now, everything that I have seen from that subreddit paints a picture of it not necessarily being the most positive place. It can get a little toxic and nasty in there, but if you can win those people over, you must be a damn good person, and I can tell you what, I absolutely believe that Hannah is a damn good person. She is so deserving of every good thing that has ever happened to her. She's a military wife with a beautiful family, finding significant success in the content that she's making, just the kindest soul you could ever interact with. And Frank Vandersloot appears to have said, in my opinion, yeah, let's just destroy her. Just sickening behavior. On July 18th, Melaleuca served Hannah with discovery requests. For a few months, it was pretty silent until September 13th, 2024, when this 1 minute and 46 second long video was posted to Hannah's channel called Correcting the Record on Melaleuca, with the comments turned off and the likes were hidden.
A few weeks ago on June 24th, I made a video about 2 independent contractor marketing executives from Melaleuca who contacted me asking to sponsor me. I thought that their request was strange. In my video, I was critical of Melaleuca's business model, and I suggested that I did not consider Melaleuca to be a legitimate company. And I said that I considered them to be a multi-level marketing company, even though they insist they are not. The company reached out to me and asked me to correct those statements. The company also asked me to spend some time learning more about them, and I've had several meetings with them. I was wrong about the company, and I don't intend this to be an out-and-out endorsement of Melaleuca because I don't do that. But I am convinced that Melaleuca is not like any MLM company that I've ever dealt with. Clearly, I was definitely wrong to say they are not a legitimate company. I spent some time with the company's founder and executive chairman, Frank Vandersloot, and his wife, Belinda, and I also did some extensive homework on my own. I learned that they are one of the largest employers in the state of Idaho, Forbes magazine ranks them one of the best employers in America, and the Better Business Bureau has given them several awards for their ethics and business operations. They are considerably different than most MLMs. In regard to whether they fit the legal definition of being a multi-level marketing company, I believe that's still debatable, because of the many legal and informal definitions of the term multi-level marketing. But clearly they have a valid argument to suggest that they do not fall under the definition of being an MLM. They are certainly different than any multi-level marketing company I've dealt with. I was surprised to learn that they have spent the last 30 years being critical of multi-level marketing companies for all the damage MLM does to people's lives. In regard to the 2 marketing executives that contacted me asking me to sponsor them, Melaleuca informed me that they were acting against the company's policies and that they have been sanctioned for their actions. I am making these corrections because I want to be accurate and I want to be fair to Melaleuca and its marketing executives.
Now, if you have ever watched anything that Hannah has ever done, you know that this was not Hannah. This was not her usual personality. She used kind of a more robotic, script reading tone. She expressed facts that were very clearly written out to be positive things that Melaleuca has done, as if they're simply just the most gracious and charitable company to ever exist. These are things that we all know that Hannah would never say about any company or person that she covers on her channel, so it was just so beyond out of character for her. Internet users took to Reddit and Instagram to discuss what was going on, and most people knew right away that Hannah had no other realistic choice but to make this video. And of course, the Streisand effect was in full force after this. Some creators were able to get their hands on internal Melaleuca documents that show just how far the company has gone in the name of defense against the MLM claim.
My absolute favorite thing that you guys have found is this draw the line document that we had in our back office about 5 or 6 years ago, even when I was a part of the company. So it's not a new document, it's just new to the public. This was essentially a 12-15 page document that explained how Melaleuca was different from MLMs. And just to summarize it, it's essentially telling you that if you are a distributor of a company and you obtain the products and then you resell them, that is the only thing that makes you an MLM. So Melaleuca thinks that if you are not reselling products, then you are not an MLM. That would mark a lot of other companies off of the list from being an MLM. That doesn't make sense to me. They also go on to say that because they sell products that people actually want, that doesn't make them an MLM, which also doesn't sound true either. You guys can take a look at this document here. And then this one here basically explains that because you can't call the company at midnight and ask them how close you are to ranking up, that doesn't make you an MLM, and also says that because the company has been in business for over 30 years and has distributors that have been with them for 30 years, that doesn't make them an MLM either, because they're not claiming ground floor opportunity. I don't know. You can look at this too.
Most people understood exactly what was going on. A few people expressed disappointment in Hannah. Those people clearly have no basic human empathy, nor do they realize how expensive, time-consuming, and stressful it is to fight a lawsuit. I don't know where Chelsea gets this figure, but in her video on the situation, she estimates that it would have cost Hannah upwards of $800,000 to fight this lawsuit. And listen, Hannah's successful on YouTube, but she's not that successful to just have $800,000 laying around.
What I think happened is that Hannah was served. They were suing her, and in order to have them drop it, listen, as much as us YouTubers, a lot of us would like to be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna fight it. It realistically would have cost her, in my opinion, I don't know if this is true, it most likely would have cost her over upwards of like $800,000 to fight it, I think at least. And that's crazy. That's a lot of stress. But when you're in that spot and you have a young child, an infant / toddler, your spouse is deployed, that's a lot of stress. I don't blame her if this is the case that she would have made a retraction video.
If you're one of those people who expressed disappointment in Hannah, please take a minute to put yourself in her shoes. A billionaire-owned company files a lawsuit against you. That is very clearly, in my opinion, a slap lawsuit. And then you go and you consult an attorney and they say, yeah, that will be several hundreds of thousands, if not close to $1 million, please. Thank you. So your only way out of this lawsuit is to comply with them. And oh, you're not allowed to say anything to the public. You're not allowed to defend yourself. You're not allowed to describe to anyone what is going on. You are not allowed to tell anyone anything. All you can do is follow through with their demands, because quite frankly, no singular person can afford to just drop hundreds of thousands of dollars to fight a slap lawsuit in court. So what I personally believe happened, knowing Hannah myself personally, and not believing that she would ever say any of the things that she said in her correction video, is that they wrote a script for her. They told her that she had to read it and post it to all of her social media accounts, told her she had to, tag it or whatever on all of her social media accounts, or pin it or whatever it is, so that's like the first thing to appear, probably for a set amount of time, maybe like 30 days or something. And then I think they probably would have told her that she's never allowed to ever actually delete it, and then they told her she's also not allowed to say a singular thing about it. Then and only then would Melaleuca drop the lawsuit against her. That is what I believe happened. And that's what they did. On September 19th, less than a week after the video went live, Melaleuca filed a stipulation to dismiss the lawsuit without prejudice, bringing the case to an end. So yeah, that much is clear to me. Hannah had no realistic choice in this matter, because she could not afford to fight the lawsuit. So she made the video the way they told her to, and they said, all right, thanks, bye. Now that Hannah can put this stressful experience behind her, it's time for us to talk about how the internet reacted afterwards. words. First of all, Julie Anderson posted this video that was hilarious in and of itself.
I've recently made content about a company called High Altitude Potatoes, and I've incorrectly called them a multi-level marketing company and an illegitimate company and a pyramid scheme and a fraud. And I have been extremely fortunate to have met with the owners and CEOs of various multi-level marketing companies, including High Altitude Potatoes. And I can assure you that this is my own free will, that I have not been sent a cease and desist from High Altitude Potatoes. I haven't been sent multiple cease and desists from High Altitude Potatoes, and I haven't been threatened with a lawsuit from the people who have millions or even billions of dollars that own High Altitude Potatoes. High Altitude Potatoes is a truly revolutionary company, and they have disrupted the industry. They've been critical of multi-level marketing for years because there's so many bad actors in multi-level marketing, and High Altitude Potatoes isn't one of them. Me making this video shows how full of integrity High Altitude Potatoes is. I have been so wrong. And don't be confused by anything I am saying. I haven't been sent any order of making a piece of content and pinning it to each of my social media profiles for at least 30 days. Nor do I believe that High Altitude Potatoes is a multi-level marketing company.
The comments on this video are all extremely supportive of Hannah. I particularly like this one that reads, "If the company is so ethical and absolutely not a cult, why do they need to shut up their critics?" Another person said, "Suing creators tells me everything I need to know about the MLM. Legitimate companies are not afraid of criticism." Bingo. Clearly the internet gets it. There are multiple comments on every platform suggesting that Melaleuca seems worse than any other MLM company after this. Many cite how Hannah said in her video that Melaleuca is not like any MLM company I've ever dealt with. When reading between the lines, the internet all agrees that, yeah, Melaleuca is unlike any other company. In the opinion of the internet, they're much worse. Other creators started speaking out as well, particularly Cece Suarez. After making statements that she would be making a deep dive into Melaleuca on her channel, she then received an email from someone identifying themselves as Toni Lima. His LinkedIn profile says he's the Vice President of Public Relations at Melaleuca. I'm sure we're all aware where this is going.
So color me surprised when I got an email last night from a Toni Lima with the subject line, "A message about Melaleuca and Frank Vandersloot. We noted from your recent social media post that you may, quote, do a video going over all of the lawsuits the CEO of Melaleuca has been involved in. We trust that you plan to be accurate in your reporting." Here's the thing. I don't think I said that in my Instagram post. But then I was thinking, I was like, oh yeah, I was talking to someone and they were like, yeah, you know, this person seems like real litigious and, oh, you should do like a video on their, like all their lawsuits they've done. And I'm like, oh, that would be a fun idea for a video. So what do y'all doing going through my comments? Like, don't y'all have better things to do?
Essentially, they said, hey, Chelsea, your video better paint us in the light that makes us look good and disregards all the negative stuff we've attributed to ourselves. Thankfully, Chelsea has been around the block with these kind of people quite a few times, and she's no stranger to threatening emails and legal threats. When I see emails like this, I'm just like, dude, you're virtue signaling. All of your charitable works, all of those charity events that you've gone to, all these awards you won do not absolve you of the harm you have caused to other people, in my opinion. They're trying to be like, look, clearly we're good. And it's like, no, I'm not buying it at all.
Forbes magazine has repeatedly named Melaleuca as one of the best companies in the USA to work for. Forbes has also named Melaleuca one of the best companies in America for women to work for. Salvation Army and American Red Cross have publicly acknowledged Melaleuca's contributions many times and have awarded Melaleuca and Frank with their top humanitarian awards. The list of Melaleuca's achievements and public awards goes on and on. In addition, Melaleuca has been a strong financial supporter of the National Consumer League that goes after fraudulent businesses. Throughout its 38-year history, Melaleuca has consistently fought against the unscrupulous, I love that word, and damaging practices of MLM marketing companies. Here is just one example. Melaleuca is a member of the Direct Selling Association, red flag. Ugh. And it says, attached is an article written by Frank Vandersloot in The Hill, a highly respected political publication in Washington, D.C. Cool, great, thanks for that little tidbit. In this editorial, Frank heavily criticized legislation that the Direct Selling Association and its MLM members were trying to pass. As a result of this article and Melaleuca's extensive lobbying effort against the DSA proposed legislation, Senator Blackburn removed her support and the legislation failed. Yay! That's good. I don't know what the legislation was, so I need to look into that. As retribution, the Direct Selling Association barred Melaleuca from any of its meetings.
They also tried to tell Chelsea that all of this good stuff is what inspired Hannah to change her view. Yeah, sure, I'm certain it was because you changed her mind and not because you filed a lawsuit against her that she's financially unable to fight. I honestly think that Melaleuca and its executives think we're all idiots. They think we're stupid. They think that we just follow the money everywhere it goes like little sheep. No, Toni. No, Frank. We see right through it. And unfortunately for them, while none of us can read the actual lawsuit, it's public record to show that it was filed. The internet found those public records. So you can't convince any of us that these facts are what changed Hannah's mind when we have evidence that suggests that you straight up just tried to sue her. Anyway, in true Chelsea fashion, she responded to the email in the way that I think we all wish we could ourselves.
So I emailed him back and I said, Mr. Tony Lima, there is zero chance in I will be wasting my time reading the dissertation you just sent me. I mean this with all due respect, which is none. Frank can kindly kiss my ass.
I believe the situation deserved our #1 spot this year because it was huge news, of course, but also because it's hilarious that Melaleuca really thought they were going to try to embarrass Hannah and harm her reputation. They thought that they were going to pull the wool over all of our eyes by basically, in my opinion, forcing Hannah to make that video. Instead, we all saw through it immediately. It doesn't matter how much money someone has. You can use it to threaten people, you can use it to force people to do what you want, sure, but you cannot buy people's true thoughts and beliefs, and there's no amount of money that can change logic, reasoning, and actual reality. I know people think that YouTubers are just rolling in money. I can assure you we're not. Certainly not anywhere near the point where we can afford to just fight a huge billionaire in court. None of us can afford that. Frank Vandersloot knew that, in my opinion, so I think that's why he has the reputation of being so litigious. Melaleuca's actions against their critics have earned it our #1 spot in the top fails of 2024 because all it did was make us more aware of how awful they truly are and further justify our opinions that Melaleuca is unethical and an all-around terrible company. The Streisand effect is real. If Melaleuca had just left Hannah alone, her video would have eventually fallen into the vast void of the internet, as most YouTube videos do, shortly after publication. Instead, they targeted the sweetest person on the planet, bringing more attention to their unethical behavior. The entire internet will continue to stand with Hannah despite Melaleuca's best efforts to silence her. We all may not know the exact details, but one thing we know for sure is that this video was not Hannah. The truth will prevail. And not to end this on a political note, I'm just speaking factually and objectively. I think that 2025 is going to be a really interesting year considering the outcome of a certain election, because the president-elect recently, like less than a week ago from when I'm filming this video, he came out and said that he'd be firing Lina Khan. She is the current head of the FTC. She has done, even recently, like in September of this year, the FTC, headed by Lina Khan, did do like a comprehensive overview of MLM companies and their income disclosure statements. Like, so she has had her hands in all of the good things that have happened for us as an anti-MLM movement. All of the restrictions that you hear, you know, Carl Deichler talking about, saying like, oh, we're running into some federal restrictions and it's getting hard for us out here. Like, you can thank Lina Khan for that. She has really done a lot of work. On the flip side, now that our president-elect has said that he's going to be firing her and replacing her with someone else, historically, again, I'm speaking from a realistic standpoint here. There are a lot of politicians who are in the pocket of billionaires like Frank Vandersloot and other very wealthy people like the DeVos family. They run Amway. Betsy DeVos was a pick in the 45th president's cabinet. And okay, it's not just a Republican thing, because like I'm looking at you, Kamala Harris, like Herbalife has a lot of things to thank you for too. So it's obviously not just clear all the way across the board, just a right-wing thing, but historically, most of these people who pay for like candidates who will uphold their cash cows in the MLM world generally fall on the right side of the political spectrum, factually speaking. Like, I'm not gonna sit here and try to make some sort of political statement here. That's just the reality. So, quite frankly, I don't see good things coming for us in the anti-MLM movement for the next at least 2 years, maybe 4 years if we're super unlucky. I don't know. I've usually ended these videos being like, oh yeah, I can't wait to see what's gonna happen next year. Woohoo, like everything's going down and it's great, but I'm not feeling that confident this year for the sole reason that we're losing Lena Khan. And you know, there are some government agencies that are about to get royally corrupt. So I guess we can talk about that next year. But for now, that is the end of our top 10 list of the year. I need to say thank you to so many people. First of all, thank you for being here. If you've been along on this journey for the whole year and watched all this stuff go down, thank you for caring about the mission that myself and many others in this movement are platforming. And if you're new here, thank you for making it to the end of this video at least and learning about some of the unethical stuff that is going on in the world of MLMs year after year. You just being here makes a difference, and I can speak for the entire anti-MLM movement here, I think, and we're just thankful that you're here, so thank you. Also, thank you to Parade for sponsoring this video. Do not forget, go to yourparade.com/sav40 or use the code SAV40 at checkout. Get yourself some cute underwear, cute and comfy underwear. Seriously, you won't regret it. And finally, I gotta say thank you to my patrons and my members, guys. The list of names I'm about to read off are my financial supporters. They get access to things like our private Discord server, we have a postcard club, and sometimes even more than that. So if any of that sounds good to you, you can go to patreon.com/SavannahMarie, or you can click the button beneath this video to join my YouTube memberships. Just whatever platform works for you works for me. So with that, the biggest thank you in the whole wide world goes to Hula Chowdown, Jacqueline Nutton, Kessie Drew, KJ Barnes, Leanne, Caroline Reed, Daniel Urena, Maddie Darley, Ray, Stephanie Mayfield, Fuffy Duckbutt 24, AJC, Ferd Turgeson Esquire, Love to Be Evil, Just Mark, Baby Pink Pearl, Alice Wagner, LaSalle Story, Fallon Harris, Jessica Billhart, and Emion. And to the rest of my financial supporters, thank you so much for being here and being you and being as involved as you are. It means a lot to me, so thank you. It means a lot to Pippi too. Yay! I got nothing else for you guys. I just am appreciative. And I hope you have the most wonderful holiday season, the safest of most safe New Year's. And I'll see you when I see you. Happy 2025. Okay, bye.